Hello, everybody. Thank you for sticking with us, and well done to Ryan and Amp for a great college football show as always. I'm just setting up here, waiting for the other guys to come back in after they grab brew. Hope you're all doing well and are suitably happy and pleased about yesterday's game. It was well, it was a shock to me that we won. I picked against us, I have to admit, because I just didn't believe that we were going to get that done, and pleasantly surprised at how well that went. It was excellent stuff. Hello to everyone in the chat. Thanks for joining me. Mark says, Super Bowl, here we come. Not even I chug that much Kool-Aid. Brian Shook in the chat. Making me laugh during the college show says, I have been nibbling the King's biscuits all weekend with Michigan sports and such. A few Wings wins, U of M, MSU, the Lions, and M&M inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's been a big week for Michigan. The guys were just talking about college and the roughing the punter call. I feel the same as the guys. I know that the rule is there because you've got to protect the guy kicking, but at some level, at some point, a punt happens when the ball is snapped to you, and if you don't get the snap, you're free to punt the ball, but you're also free to get absolutely slammed, so I hate that call. Joseph says, hello, win streak? It could happen. We're facing Chicago next week, but they've played bloody well the last few weeks, and Fields set the NFL record for a single game in rushing yards, so we will see what happens. Drew said college football running long. It ran a bit long. Just a touch. Brian said, did Badgley miss that by 20 foot to the left on purpose to miss the Packers defender's hand? I don't think he was thinking about it that much. So obviously the long snapper really screwed it up, and it kind of skimmed along the ground. Well done to Jack Fox for actually getting it there, but I reckon he was still going for it, and I think it just Fox couldn't quite get it exactly as the kicker would like. That's my feeling on it, but I don't know. If that is a heads-up play by Badgley to completely shank it, then fair play to him. But I mean, it was a running into the kicker penalty. So assuming that Alexander doesn't contact the kicker, then it ain't gonna be a penalty. It wasn't offside, so I think he was still going for it. He did spin around like he got hit by a car, yeah, but then he was trying to get out the way from being actually hurt by him because it was his standing leg that was going to get hit, so he was spinning around to avoid contact. The guy still hit him, so running into the kicker all day. Yeah, Joseph is absolutely right that Fox did well to field the ball. It all worked out in the end. Thank God. Got Ryan coming in now, and Ant should be following shortly. And the MVP's in the house as well. Handsome Hank in the building. Oh, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm alright, you?
Yeah, I'm alright. How did Arizona State do yesterday? No, yesterday, Saturday.
Oh, they got destroyed by UCLA. About 50-35.
Ooh. Any chance of UCLA getting in?
No.
No? Not even if they went out from here, beat USC?
No chance of any Pac-12 getting in, unfortunately. It's too weak.
You don't even think Oregon have a shot if results go their way?
No.
Oh, wow.
I just can't see it.
Drew just said getting into what? To the college football playoffs?
I don't think anyone in the Pac-12's got a chance. I don't... Only big... I don't know. Even TCU aren't given. Even if they go unbeaten. I'm entitled, like say, the committee is full of douchebags. Committee won't have a... After what happened last season, like letting in Cincinnati and then getting destroyed, Pac-12... Yeah. A TCU at 13-0 probably gets in, probably gets its ass handed to them, and then they'll teach them another lesson. So I'd say you're looking at it's going to be Big Ten and SEC sides probably.
I think it's going to be a big call if Michigan beat Ohio State. whether they allow both in or not. If Michigan lose, I can see Michigan missing. But if Ohio State lose, I can see both getting in. If that makes sense.
Probably. I think if Michigan win, they're the only team that belong in. I'd get rid of Ohio State. I suppose it'll depend on who's champion. The champion is probably the only team a realistic chance of getting in.
I just can't see past Georgia to win it all. I mean, the way they dismantled Tennessee is just. Lots of people, lots of well-informed people were picking Tennessee in this game, just thinking that Georgia's defense couldn't hang, and they were very, very wrong.
Yeah, Georgia looked the best on both sides of the ball. I think Georgia and LSU probably got the best chances of getting in. I think Bama probably done. Like I say, I just don't think Bama belong this year.
Well, if Bama get in, they're going to have to get in instead of either a no-win team in TCU or a one-loss TCU team or a one-loss Oregon team, or like they're picking them over teams that
probably won't be that hard.
No,
the committee loves Alabama. If Alabama are like SEC champions with 2 losses, an unbeaten TCU team don't stand a chance, and that's unfortunately just how college football works. It's just so biased, and that's what sucks. There's got to be a new way to do it. You need to get rid of the committee.
Yeah, the committee don't get anything.
It needs to be a point. It needs to be points or something.
If you're expecting us to be talking about the Packers and Lions show, we're just waiting for Ant to come back in. He's probably getting a brew at the moment, and then we'll kick it off then. So that's why we're just going with some college chat, but we're not recording as yet. If you've got any questions or just want to chat with us while we're waiting, then please feel free. Obviously, lots to talk about in this game, so I don't want to get too much into Lions Packers as yet. But if you've got any questions for us to address on the show, then do get them in as well. I'm so conflicted with Stetson Bennett because I am convinced that he is this year's sort of Bailey Zappi type, can operate an offense well, but there's just nothing kind of remarkable about him really. He can be confident and deliverable where it is meant to be, but he's never going to be a world-beating quarterback ever. But then part of me thinks he's just a UDFA, and that's all he's going to be. But Bailey Zappi went 4th round, so do you think he can get drafted?
I think he could get drafted. Bailey Zappi went way too high. Bailey Zappi had no right whatsoever going in the 4th round. He's a backup. Stetson Bennett, I think, is going to be a backup. I think he's probably a day 3 guy. He's old, he's little, he's skinny, but he still plays bigger and better than all these things do. So I actually think Stetson Bennett is miles better than Bailey Zappi. Bailey Zappi plays air raid football, which is just shit and doesn't really translate to the NFL that well, where Stetson Bennett is far more polished as a game manager and more pro style. But if Stetson Bennett didn't get drafted, I won't be surprised with his age and his build. Like, he's 5'10", like 5'11", and he's really skinny, which really hurts him. But I'd take Stetson Bennett as like a UDFA, as like a backup.
What in the hell is going on?
Party time, boys. Victory Monday. This is what it is all about.
Oh my God.
What are you drinking?
Baileys. The tiramisu one is gorgeous.
Oh, really? I know. That's good.
It is fantastic.
I love tiramisu.
Oh, Jesus. That fan man is asking you to tell us what happens when Michigan play Ohio State in a few weeks.
Michigan are going to absolutely kill them. That's what's going to happen.
And
you know me, I am like the least Michigan person. I give Michigan particular hardness because of the in-state bias. So I always hold them to a higher standard, but they're going to kill Ohio State.
Big Aries is just saying before we kick off, and in fact, if you like what Ant's wearing, give us a like, please, because that's elite, and I need to see that represented in the likes. Big Aries is just saying before we kick off, can we talk about Jeff Saturday being the interim head coach with no prior
Wow.
NFL experience. It's not just no prior NFL experience, he has no coaching experience of any kind. And apparently, in national media, apparently they think it might be the first time this has ever happened at the NFL level.
I think
Absolute desperation. That's just their friends doing them a favour. No one wants to coach. No one wants to coach the Colts.
thing is, they've got two former NFL head coaches on their staff who they could have given the job to temporarily, and it's like they've gone for one of the Ring of Honor instead. So I don't know. I just don't get it. But the first thing I said when I heard about it earlier is this going to be Peyton's time? Well, they just bought his long-term center on as interim head coach. Could Ballard be about to go? Could Peyton be about to come in? Link up with his best friend once more? Who knows?
Colts are an absolute mess.
Yeah, and people had to go at us for hiring Campbell, who's like no prior experience. Well,
if we hired Jeff Saturday, Christ, you fucking meltdown.
Isn't even been a coach.
I mean, to be honest, the way that the Colts have gone about their franchise this year, he could be better than Frank Reich in terms of making decisions. I'm not saying as an NFL coach, but just operating the staff and making decisions. I mean, you can't look at what Matt Ryan did last year, trade for him for a third-round pick, and then bench him halfway through. Like, you just can't do that. I don't care how badly he's playing. You knew what you were getting. You are committing to that decision. By benching him, you've signed your P45. And if you don't know what P45 is over here, that's what you get when you're sacked or when you leave your job. He signed his own death warrant.
And then let Sam Ellinger get sacked 7 times behind partly some elite offensive line. So his poor rookie understatement that comes in then gets fucking murdered.
They've not replaced what's his face, the left tackle. Not Costanzo. What was his name?
Anthony Costanzo.
Anthony Costanzo. I said, and this is when I had the knock about people saying Taylor Decker was not part of the timeline. Costanzo played till he was 35 at a very high level. And, they've not replaced him. So now they need a quarterback and now they need a left tackle. So at number 5 in the draft, which I think they're currently at, you can't draft them both. So which way do you go? You saw with Bears and Fields, it's good getting a new quarterback, but if you can't protect him, you're going to break him. So
Quentin Nelson ain't going to stick around the Colts long. The best left guard in the game on that shitty team.
Not even close.
No chance.
Not even close.
Right, fellas, should we get us on the road?
Is it just us 3 today?
I believe so. Steve is table tennising. And then I think Tom is away, and then Martin and Ryan is Martin and Ryan. So, yeah.
Let's do this.
All right.
Victory Monday.
Let's go.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, episode 155, Kirby's Dreamland. My name's Matthew Turner, alongside co-host Ant and Ryan. How you doing, boys?
I'm very, very happy. In a great mood.
Hashtag fuck the Packers.
This is the Packers at Lions review show, having a look back at the Lions' second win of the season against the old enemy Green Bay Packers yesterday. It was a terrific game. I have been lighter than air all day. I've been just working with a smile on my face. Everything is easier when you win on a Sunday, boys.
And apparently, and apparently it's a lot saltier in Green Bay when you lose.
Especially when you have 9 starters go down for injury. Sorry, Ryan.
It's nice to see Twitter, like Lions fans, just taking a break for once. Not just absolutely tearing everyone to shreds and arguing. It's Packers fans having meltdowns and PTSD and reaching for the Xanax or Adderall. Chill the fuck out.
It's so nice to collectively see the NFC North just stomping on them. Like we ganged up on them in the draft to stop them getting any receivers. Now we're ganging up on them in season. It's just a thing of beauty.
Can we just cast a quick eye back before we go into any of the preamble or the news or this show to give a shout out to Kirk Cousins, because this is a team that is taking the NFC by storm. They're looking like they're going to be the number 2 seed, threatening the number 1 seed at the moment, despite being absolutely terrible, almost getting beaten yesterday by a really bad team. Kirk Cousins trying to be a baller, but failing miserably. A team that the Lions were beating comfortably earlier in the year. And this is, like, the Vikings are not much better than we are. And Cousins just kind of living it up like he's this gangster dude. I love that video on the plane, but my God, we beat their ass in that game.
I'd sooner wear a T-shirt that said Jordan Travis's #1 fan than give Kirk Cousins any sort of shout out. So no.
All right. Well, we'll move on then. Just a bit of preamble to. Oh, sorry, Ryan.
I think it's funny because it's funny because Kirk's always been like so fucking boring and had no personality. And now,
yeah,
and now it's let's say like they're 7-1 now. He's making like $40 million a year, and like he's making rap videos, and he thinks he's Post Malone. I actually quite like this Kirk Cousins. At least if you're gonna be average at best, like it might as well have some personality. So if we see him on planes and flying jets and wearing rocks and that, it'd be kind of funny. The NFC North is just a bit of a carnival. I'm kind of all here for it, to be honest.
I thought he was like a hardcore Christian, and yet he's acting like he's in Magic Mike on a plane. I mean, they're just not very Christian of him.
I think it's just funny because it's like you get that white kid on the school bus, and like he kind of like he's got to fit in, and they've all just given him that ice, and he's just there like just throwing up gang signs. Like it's just funny. It's like Ned Flanders like joining like Tupac and Biggie.
I really want to see that now all of a sudden. Well,
yeah.
I obviously can't, but you know, I'd love to see it. I mean, Eminem and Ned Flanders, the duo we never knew we needed.
My thoughts just go back to the punk-ass bitch who was like, I ain't getting a vaccine, I'll walk around in a Perspex box if I have to. And this guy's doing that on a plane! Like, come on, man. Just as an aside, this is probably a very niche reference that no one's going to get, but the "you like that" thing became big again. I think he reprised it after the win. And every time he does it, or every time it's referenced, I think back to the lyrics of Diary of Jane from Breaking Benjamin, because it has you like that, it is part of the lyrics. And I just imagine him in that band. And it kind of works in a really perverted way. But anyway, I will move it on. Don't forget our Discord channel. We have lots of good chat all the way through. It was an absolute fire yesterday, so do join that. I'll put a link in the live chat on YouTube and Twitch, so join us there. College Football Podcast aired just before we came on. Boys, what did you talk about? What happened last weekend?
We were talking about potential head coaches of the year today. A lot of great coaches down there who've done some jobs at some really bad teams, turned them around in a short space of time. So we gave some love to those guys who don't get much chatter. And then we talked about the weekend's fixtures just gone. Obviously, the dynasty might be over. Clemson had their ass handed to them. You know, there was a lot that went on this week. We had the highest scoring regulation game in the history of college football, 140 points and 1,350 yards of offense. There's a lot of good stuff going on. It's really heating up in the race for championship and bowl games at the moment, so it's good stuff.
Please don't forget to like the episode, sub to the show, give us a rating, all that good stuff that you can do. Leave a comment below, and if you've got any questions as well, do get them in. Don't forget to download the app at lionsnationunite.com. Herb and Moore's project to bring the best in Lions content creators all together, including Micro Mike, who's in the chat with us, as well as Joseph Dion and Lions on the Prowl and Everything King. All those good guys are there, so do download the app. And we are a Twitch affiliate. Please do. If you have Amazon Prime, send us your free sub. It won't cost you a penny. You do have one if you are subscribed to Amazon Prime, and it just puts a little in our pocket. We have got Dan Pask as well, subscribing at Tier 1 for his 8th month. Thank you very much, Dan. Appreciate you very much. He says, hey guys, run the table, ? Laughing face. We're not going to chug that much just yet, but one day. We've got the Bears next, so it could happen. Anyway, we'll move into the news, and there's only a couple of items today, and then we'll move straight into the game review. The wide receiver Stanley Berryhill has been signed to the active roster, taking the place that was vacated by the trade for TJ Hawkinson. And the Lions hope that Kerby Joseph, the superstar safety, can clear concussion protocol by Sunday. He was hit by friendly fire in the game against the Packers, being hit in the head and neck area by Jeff Okudah on a coverage play. Looked pretty nasty, but he seemed to help himself off the field under his own power, and Dan Campbell in the press conference just a moment ago said that he thought that he would make it back for Sunday. So fingers crossed for Kerby, because I think we need him for this one, boys. Straight into the game review. Packers 9, Lions 15. And it's a really interesting game of stats and scores and what have you. The Lions shut a team out in the first half. I was going to look back and try and find out the last time the Lions held a team to 0 at the half, and I thought, you know what, it's just going to take me too long to try and find this out, so I didn't bother in the end. But I can't remember the last time a defense was actually that good. Rodgers threw for 154 more yards than Goff did in this game. 23 of 43, 291, a touchdown, and 3 interceptions to Goff's 14 of 26 for 137 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. And they were fairly equal on the ground as well. The Packers 25 carries for 106 yards, the Lions 31 for 117. So not a lot of offense in this game at all for the Lions. Defensively, we had 2 fumbles by the Packers, both not recovered by Detroit. We might come on to that in a minute. Otherwise, receiving touch. Actually, I'm talking about defense now. Barnes led the defense for Green Bay in tackles, 8 tackles, 4 of which solo. 2 tackles for a loss for the Packers in total, but no sacks in this game. They did have a sack, but it was ruled out for roughing the passer, and we'll get onto that in a minute as well. The Lions defensively led by Derek Barnes, 12 tackles as well as a sack, and Kerby Joseph, 10 total tackles for him. The one sack, as I said, was by Derek Barnes, but they did have 3 tackles for a loss in this game. So there's your statistics in that. Also 3 interceptions, 2 by Kerby, 1 by Aiden. We'll come on to that in just a moment. Just some high-level stuff before we go through the sort of, not play-by-play, but higher-level play-by-play. How are you feeling, boys, coming out of this with a win? Because before, there was a little bit of positivity that we might be able to pull this out, and then before the game we were asked how confident are you, and I don't think anyone had a greater than a 5 out of 10 really. In fact, no, Ryan, I think you had a 6.
I had a 6.5. You know what? I
love Ryan's scales.
It's a really weird feeling because the offense was dreadful, and that just regresses, and I just feel worse about that weekly. But the defense finally woke up. The Packers had 3 first and goals, no points. They have 3 points on a 1st and 10 from like the 25. They had like a 1st and like 20 that had no points. So they basically had 5 red zone drives and gave it 3 points. Scored 3 points against the league's worst red zone defense. Now that is pretty astonishing, because this defense, like I say, worst in the league, one of the worst I've ever seen. Statistical-wise, it's one of the worst Detroit defenses I've ever seen. But for some reason, just when it came inside like the 20-yard line, through like making big plays and getting Aaron Rodgers flustered, because Christ, like he was PMSing all game on it. But also through Green Bay, also just mental errors and fuck-ups. We just managed to get serious pressure and shutouts in the red zone. And that's where we won the game. Like I said, keeping them out within like the 20-yard line, just putting up a fence and just saying you will not cross this line was where we won the game. Yeah. But the offense, I am just even more further away, like just don't want Goff than I was beforehand.
Situational football, Amp.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? I felt absolutely spectacular when I got up this morning. It was just nice to, we had the win over the Packers last year, and then we had the one at the end of the season before that. And for years, they've got away with, oh, well, you're beating our end of season teams, so you're getting ready for the playoffs. These ain't really wins. Well, newsflash, this one's a win. This one's a big damn win. And, I've seen them trying to cope with it today by saying, oh, our players are injured, etc. Well, you're up against a team that's had, 130 million cumulative on IR in the last 2 seasons. Don't whine and bitch about injuries to us. We've had it worse than anybody else. We wanted it more. We fought them harder in the trenches. Their players didn't want it. Bakhtiari decided to take half a game off. He didn't want it. Aaron Jones was fit enough to come back on. He got played today. He didn't want none of us. We fought hard, we played hard, and there's a long trip up Mount Purgatory for the Lions to get back to relevance. The first part of let's say level 1 of Mount Purgatory has been in the NFC North. We've got to make statement wins. We can't be the bottom feeders no more. We all had this really, really bad feeling that we would be the get right game for the Packers. I put the tweet out before the weekend. I don't want to be the get right game. I want to be the game where they're not saying, oh, we'll get right. I want it to be the game where we say, well, we're well and truly screwed. And you've seen Packers Twitter today, and they feel well and truly screwed. And that's the feeling that feels nicest for me. We have gone in while they've been on the ground, and we've stuck a boot in on them, not helped them up, give them a little pat on the back and gone, oh, everything's going to be all right. You'll be fine. You get together game against us. Go on and get to the playoffs now. No, we've taken one look at them and we've kicked them while they're down. And I love it. The youngsters came to play. The rookies came to play. Derek Barnes stood up for the first time. His workload's going. He's been doing better with smaller workloads. Had a full game workload yesterday. Looked every bit like the guy who we drafted last year. Kerby Joseph has just come out of nowhere and is just making plays week in, week out. Hutch has his first pick ever anywhere, picks off Aaron Rodgers. This is what we need to see, this young, youthful element of our team developing quick, like Dan Campbell says, because we have an issue in this team where we've no good veteran leadership. So it's on the rookies to do the development into those leadership roles quicker, sooner rather than later. And we saw that big yesterday. And most importantly, the win. Amount of Lions fans bitching today about draft position and stuff. No, a win yesterday is the best thing for this team because it teaches these young kids that they can win games of football, not that they're losers and they're never going to do anything at this franchise. So, we're on the first rung of Mount Purgatory now. Now we've got to go up to the Chicago Bears. We've got to show that our renaissance in the NFC North is not just a 1-week thing and it's just a flash in the pan. We've got to show that this is for real, that we can be consistent. And the Bears playing really well, do not get me wrong, but we should go into this game full of confidence now, ready to whoop some more ass and show that we're for real. So, I have no complaints. I know the offense can be better, but for the most part, both teams showed up, both sides of the ball showed up when we needed them to. Offense made touchdowns in situations it needed us to. Defense makes the stop it needed to. So I'm just happy that we get to celebrate a victory Monday, man, and I get to dress up a bit. I hate sitting here moaning about the same problems every single week, and I just feel amazing today.
I don't blame you. Cloud9. Absolute Cloud9. It was so much sweeter because one of the interceptions was totally earned by the Lions, but two of them, one of them was 50-50, and one of them's completely on Rodgers, and it's just so nice to see him being the master of his own disaster. It's so sweet.
Barnes found the passing lane. He put his head there. I know he didn't really intentionally do it, but he still looked at him and saw the passing lane. Got to be in the right position to make the plays, and he was. So, yeah, seeing Aaron Rodgers cry, it's like, the scene out of Family Guy where Stewie goes up to Meg while she's crying. It's like, yes, your anguish sustains me. I'm like that with Aaron Rodgers. His pain makes me stronger, and his pain makes us all stronger as a fan base. And he even started arguing with the refs. I feel really sad for him. That's the second long-term relationship he's going to lose this year. I mean, the one with the refs is probably the longest-term relationship he's got now, and you hate seeing these relationships fall apart.
Ran out of Cool Whip. Anyway, let's go on the play-by-play, rough play-by-play. Opening drive for the Lions was fairly unremarkable before a quick swing pass out to Swift in stride for 15 or so. The opening drive actually proceeded without incident pretty much. We were proceeding down the field quite nicely until on 3rd and 3 we decided in the red zone to run out of shotgun in a narrow field and then failed to convert on the 4th and 1 from the Green Bay 6. They blitzed Goff on the pass. Goff couldn't find anyone. It was utterly predictable. It's the first decision to kind of have a look at. What did he think on that 2-play sequence? Because I was live with Drew on the show, and I was kind of saying, if you're going on 3rd down here, on 3rd and 3, saying, right, you've got 2 plays to make this. I don't hate the run play, but at the end of the day, I hate running a 4th down pass in that position. Go run, Or just pass for the first down on third down and kick the field goal if you don't get it. I don't see that we had any chance of getting the touchdown on 3rd and 3 call. And so you're kind of setting yourself up for failure a bit here. And yes, you've got them deep, but our defense hasn't exactly been great. And in a game that could be a battle of a field goal here or there, which it did turn out to be, that getting points on the board could have been pretty crucial. What did he make of that 2-play sequence?
I mean, you can flip it and say that he's at least showing faith in his offense. As an offensive player, I mean, how many times did we see Patricia not trust Matt Stafford in a clutch part in a game? And you saw, kind of what it did to their relationship. It completely eroded it. To tell your offense that you have faith in it to go out there and make these plays, I think it's admirable. Yes, it is foolish, but it is also admirable. And I mean, I was saying about this earlier when we were talking about Marcus Freeman of Notre Dame on the college pod. I think when you hire a guy, it's his first time as head coach, you're not just taking on him, but you are standing by him while he works out all these kinks in his systems. I think he is too aggressive on these 4th down calls sometimes. I mean, he sort of had the freedom to be last year. He had nothing to play for. And, see which players can perform when they really needed to on 4th down. But this year, you do have to be a little bit more discreet with how many times you do it. And I think this is just a kink in his learning curve as a head coach. But that is what you sign up for when you take a first-time head coach. So you've just got to stick with it and hope that he works it out eventually. And, he will look back on this. I'm sure there'll be some ones he wishes he had back. But I will never actively be upset if he decides that he trusts his offense to go and get it. It's a sign of faith in your players, but you've just got to be discreet in how many times you do it and whatnot. But so early in a game, potential to put some points on the board. I mean, don't forget, before this game, we all know the Packers, how dangerous they are, how much points they put up on us. Dan Campbell might have felt that the defense wasn't really going to make the stop. We're going to go out, touchdowns win games, not field goals. That'll be the mentality he's thinking. We're thinking about this from after game now that we've got the benefit of hindsight. But at that particular moment, at that particular time, you're at home, put a touchdown on them early, get some points going, get some momentum going. I can see why he did it. And like I say, I will never critique.
I will just say that I did call out that this game, pre-game, would be 16-10, and that field goals would be the difference. So I hear what you're saying about it being after the event, but it could have been predicted that the game would go this way, I think, as well. Sorry. Ryan, what did you make of that 2-down sequence?
With who's on the centre, I never like throwing the ball on 4th and 1 because you start Goff. We've thrown the ball a lot on 4th down this year, and most of them we've turned the ball over and downs because the play calls are. You look who's available to him right now. We're rolling with 3rd stringers. There's no one out there really trust to get properly open on a 4th and 1. Like say we've got like the tight end 3 and 4 in. We're down to the bare bones of receiver. I would have just gone run. But I also agree, like you say, we're up. Before the play, we were 9 and 20, and that's the most completions and the most attempts on 4th down this year. So it was never in question going for it. Every drive this season, if it's in the first quarter, it's in their half, he's going to go for it. There'll never be a time for a dump because that's just the ethos of the Lions now. Well, like I say, while it can't cost you the game, go for it. Try to take back the momentum. So yeah, the play call, wasn't a fan of it, but we've started slow now for multiple weeks, so it didn't exactly surprise me to turn our downs there. Like I said, and obviously the fact that we've now played a few teams that a lot of teams are winning the toss and deferring. Also understand that the Lions start slowly. They're happy to give us the ball. They're more than, like I say, I know the Cowboys did. I think that's going to become a trend against the Lions. They win the toss, but instead of taking the ball, they give us it because they know that our offense right now isn't firing on all cylinders. That will become something we see a lot, probably every game this season now. But yeah, it was a good drive. Like I say, Swift he did look great all game because he's not. We just know it, but he looked better than last week. That's got to count for something at least.
It does. It does. Right, so the Packers take over on downs. Really nice pass breakup from Deshaun Elliott over the middle as part of this drive. Rodgers had a massive 15-yard rush on 3rd and 10, and the Lions had trouble against Rodgers running the ball all day. He actually led Green Bay in rushing. They then pick up some easy first downs in the run game as they proceed all the way down the field. There was a really big completion on 3rd and 1 where Rodgers had the freedom of the field to just walk it in for a first down, but instead he decided to risk it with a throw to Mercedes Lewis, slightly not where he would have liked it, but Lewis, with very safe hands, took the catch on the 5-yard line for a first down, and then came the interception in the end zone. So Rodgers, he threw it against his, I think, I need to have a look at the All-22 because I can't decisively see, but I think he threw it into his own offensive lineman. His own
Barnes.
Was it Barnes? Was it?
He threw it at Barnes.
Yeah.
He threw it at Barnes' helmet.
There we go. And then it looped up, and both Kerby and Jeff went up for it. Every time I watch it, I'm convinced they're going to ruin it for each other.
They were drop it.
Yeah,
I thought they were going to drop it.
It was rough, but they didn't get in each other's way in the end. Kerby claims it for a touchback. They went 90 yards of the field. And then Rodgers ruins it by just throwing a ball too low. That is an awful error by Rodgers, and a heads-up play by the Lions defenders, and well done to them for not getting each other's way at the end. But it felt like a cheap interception at the time.
Well, I don't know. I mean, when you Sorry, go on, Ryan.
I feel like it was a big difference. Like, you know what? I'll say it's fortuitous. Barnes is in the right place at the right time. Good kudos to him. It goes up in the air, and when it goes up, it's a lottery. I'd have liked Jeff to get it, actually. If I was Kerby, I'd have left it to Jeff, but obviously he wants that interception because Jeff, I think, needs one for confidence. But yeah, as long as no dropped it, I think give a shit who caught it. And it was big, like I say, because when you're a Lions fan and a team gets to like 4th and 2 or like at the 2-yard line, I automatically just think 6 points. We're just pansies in the end zone. We just shoot ourselves in the foot. So to actually stand big, show some bollocks and come away and take the ball away, that was something quite surprising this year. So it was a good end. And also, this game, we had bad field position for the most of it. So a touchback, like you say, is never bad. A pick in the end zone is never bad because this season we've had lots of players where receivers bring the ball out questionably and getting to like the 10-yard line. It's pissed me right off. So a touchback, more than happy. I'll take a touchback all day long.
I feel like sometimes you just need that little bit of luck. I mean, I feared the worst. I mean, when you're on a Green Bay drive and Aaron Rodgers rushes for 15 yards against you and Mercedes Lewis gets his second catch of the season, you're like, oh, here we go again. They're going to do it with a ragtag bunch of players the way you're not expecting it to. They're going to put points down on us. But sometimes all you need is a bit of luck. Like you said, right place, right time, Derek Barnes. I mean, the pass, I ain't going to neg him too much for it. When you're that close to the end zone, you kind of have to get zip on it because you get closed down very quickly in the end zone. So you got to put speed on it. And, Barnes' head isn't there when he throws it. It's actually a good play by Barnes, I feel. He's kind of sealed up against the run to start with, then sort of moves back out into a passing lane when the run doesn't come. And his head's in the right place. The guys make the play. It just feels like you need that luck sometimes. We don't feel like we get much luck. I mean, the amount of times like we've got interceptions and there's been questionable calls against us, flags on the play. We just ain't got that one proper turnover, and here we did. And what it does, it sets the Packers' mood down. If the Packers would have scored then, would have given them a lot of confidence, but they've been struggling in the red zone. They've been struggling to put points on the board. When you get a fluke deflection like that and you are a couple of yards out and you should have scored and you turn the ball over like that, that just kind of hammers a nail in the uncertainty coffin for them. And then they start doubting themselves. So it was a two-way win for us. One, we get a stop, and two, we make their offense doubt their ability to be able to score against us. So, yeah, just the right bit of luck we needed.
So, should have been...
Plus, they lost Romeo Doubs on that first drive. Like I say, his ankle got snapped.
That's a shame. That's a shame. I feel sorry because I loved Doubs coming out of college and going there. There's so much expectation. I actually was rooting for him to do well, and I was upset to see him leave. It's a shame. He's just starting to get going under Rodgers. He's one of the few who's made connection with him. So I'm upset from a personal standpoint of view for him. I hope he recovers quickly.
So that should be a big momentum changer. Lions get out to the 20, just intercepted the Packers in the end zone. This is the time to put the nail in the coffin and get some points on the board. And here comes the Lions, potentially their worst possession of the game. Holding on Decker, first down, makes it 1st and 20 from the 10-yard line. Goff then throws to Swift, but it zipped in for a little kind of Texas route that we've seen that Swift loves so much. It's just out of reach of Swift. He can't bring it in, but he can tip it up in the air and almost get us intercepted. And then on 3rd down, they try and set up a screen, and Goff throws it straight to Preston Smith, who tips it up in the air, and that's almost intercepted as well, but not quite. Lions get... Oh, hang on, sorry, that was 2nd down, beg your pardon. And on 3rd down... No, that was 3rd down, and then we punt it away, beg your pardon. So, in the space of 2 plays, the Lions almost get intercepted twice in, close to their own end zone, which is a bit rough. We punt away, then on the Packers' next possession, massive throw on 3rd down and 10 for the Packers. Lazard absolutely bullies Okuda down the sideline, kind of just turns him around, makes him run in the wrong direction entirely. But then he comes down at about the line to the touchdown line, the plane, and it's like, okay, he loses the ball in the mix of doing that. Is he down at the 1? Is it a touchdown? Is it a fumble recovery in the end zone for the Lions? It's decided that eventually he's down at the 1. Having looked at the replays, although I thought it was actually a recovery by the Lions, I do think it was a touchdown, and I do think they should have reviewed that a bit more thoroughly, because it did look like he broke the plane. I don't know if you guys had any other thoughts on that, but that's down at the 1, and so they've got first down and goal at the 1-yard line. Dillon is stuffed. Rodgers and Watkins, they throw a fade, and Watkins has absolutely no idea what's going on. Dillon's then stuffed again on 3rd and goal from the 1, and then on 4th down, Rodgers throws a play-action pass, massively underthrown off the back foot, and Hutchinson, who's meant to be getting upfield to rush the passer, then manages somehow to get back in to intercept him in the end zone. Now, it's 4th down, so you turn the ball over and it's going to be the Lions' ball on the 1. He gets the interception in the end zone, and it comes out to the 20. Incidentally, he actually intercepted it at the 1, took it into the end zone, and then downed it, so I was surprised there wasn't more talk about potentially it being a safety. But We'll take it. We actually end up gaining 19 yards on that play. It's a terrific play by Hutchinson to come back to the ball when he sees that Rodgers is going the wrong way and he's never getting there. Like, it's a really good heads-up play. As Ant said earlier, Hutchinson's first interception at any level of football, high school, middle school, college, whatever. He's never had an interception before. So, a really interesting sequence of events. They probably scored a touchdown, but they called it down at the 1. We then stuffed Dillon twice from the 1. I have never seen the Lions make a goal line stand this year from the 1-yard line at 1st and goal. That's not happened. And Dillon is an absolute beast. So the fact that we held him up twice, and then that play from Hutchinson, it was a real roller coaster of emotions, that play. And then we end up coming back to the 20 again, boys.
I mean, it was crazy. Odd because let's just go back to us having the ball. Jared Goff should have thrown back 5 interceptions in this game. Awful. Right. DeAndre Swift, for 1, you cannot tip that ball. If you can't catch it, you let it go, or you try to tip it down. You never tip a ball up in the air. Like the ball was so far out of his way. They dropped, like when the two like when Preston Smith and is it Enigbare, like they both fumble that interception. That's just funny. Right. That was just a terrible play. I agree that, like I said, Okuda got bodied. People calling for PI. It was Lazard being big and strong. That's big man football. I think he's got a touchdown as well. I think we got a break there. Like I say, AJ Dillon, like I say, is literally a goal line monster. So I could not believe that we stuffed him. Sammy Watkins, oh boy, is he getting some bad hate on Twitter. They fucking hate him. He's dreadful.
Couple of really bad drops and running the wrong routes.
He had 1 catch for 9 yards. Do you know what? The 4th down play, people are slating it. Bakhtiari was wide open.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, people need to understand. If that was a trick play, it worked. Rodgers just fucked it up with a horrible throw. And it probably should have been a safety, I'd say, because it's taken into the end zone. It wasn't intercepted in the end zone. But yeah, that I'll take that. That's a stroke of good luck as well. We got some nice extra field position out of it. But yeah, he adjusts really well, Hutchinson, comes down with it, but just a cataclysm of errors. And by now, Packers fans have probably accepted this is not going to be their day. And by now, probably thinking, well, here we are. We're still in it. This might be our day. Like I said, we just got really lucky. Like I said, through good play, some strokes of luck, just there was like a beacon of hope. Like I said, that was the first time. What was that? The first time ever Rodgers had thrown 2 red zone interceptions or 2 end zone interceptions.
Yeah,
that
red
was
zone,
a phenomenal stat. Like I said,
unbelievable.
by now, he's absolutely pulling out his trampy hair because it looks like he eats chips out of a bin. But yeah, right now it's just. I was on cloud 9 by right now. I'm like the worst red zone defense has got 2 takeaways in the end zone. I was like, if the game ends right now, I'd die a happy man.
They're fighting. That's what the thing is. They're fighting. You know, it feels like in recent weeks they'd sort of let that fighting mentality slip. They were getting bullied at the line of scrimmage. They weren't defending the run very well, and you know, you're kind of worried about the mentality of this team, especially losing one of its coaches. But they seem to rally this week. The goal line stops. You know, we were effectively sealing gaps. Barnes, Rodriguez, you know, bored for the limited amount we were on. They were blocking gaps that were created in the D line. You know, they were doing what they were meant to do. And I'm at odds here. I think Green Bay's offensive calling was atrocious. I know, you know, Quadzilla's the lead back in short yardage situations and that, but the best offensive skill player they have is Aaron Jones. And I don't think it's even close at this point. He is the best offensive skill player they have. Why is he on the bench? I mean, I listen to Tom Grossi loads because I love what he does, even though he's a Packers fan, and he's been harping on about it for weeks. The lack of touches that Aaron Jones gets is criminal. I think he had 9 in this one. Why are you not giving it to him? He's made our life miserable for years. Why is your playmaker not on the pitch? Why are you not feeding him in the run game? Or why are you not using him in the pass game? Why the hell are you throwing to David Bakhtiari? I don't care whether it's a good play call or not. You know, you've got a superb weapon on your bench to be able to use against us, and you're throwing to the left tackle. Well, that's just bad play calling. And you know, we ate it up, and you know, we were in the right place at the right time. We did what we needed to do, but Green Bay shot themselves in the foot in this situation. Why your best player is not on the pitch? It's like us having a fully healthy DeAndre Swift, and we're on the 1 yard line. And I know Jamal Williams is the power back who does it and that, but what he gives you when he's in the backfield, are you going to run? Are you going to throw? What are you going to do? It'd be like us just benching him and rushing Williams 3 times and getting stuffed every time. We'd be up in arms about it if that happened. So I don't know why Green Bay are doing it. I don't know why they're ignoring their best player. He just went and sat out in the end. I'm convinced he wasn't injured. I'm convinced he just went, you know, fuck this. If you ain't going to use me, I ain't going to play for you. I'm going to get some sort of knock. And I ain't bothered. And I think they did. I think he genuinely quit on them. But fair play to the Lions. They fought, and they fought hard, and it's what we needed to see. And it was the young guys again. Aleem was great stuff in the run in this one. I mean, this is the one team in the entire NFL where I don't mind if their quarterback's the lead rusher, because he ain't going to rush for much. He got 40 yards. I'll take that. When they got you know, Aaron Jones, when they got AJ Dillon, I'll take Aaron Rodgers with 40 yards as their lead rusher. Shows that my defense has stood up well against their other actual running backs. So nothing but credit to this team and the young players and how they fought, especially on that drive.
Absolutely. Just a bit of breaking news. The Lions have waived wide receiver Stanley Berryhill. Not a surprise. I suspect he'll be reverting to the practice squad as we sign someone else or promote someone else. So he only got 1 offensive snap in this game. It was a surprise he got signed, and it's not a surprise he's been waived to me, at least. Anyway, let's move on this play-by-play. And we have false start by Decker on the next drive.
Pissing me off.
It's pissing me off as well. False starts and holds by Decker and endemic at the moment, and they just can't seem to get away from him.
He's having a bad year.
He's having a bad year by his standards. In terms of his blocking ability, he's let a sack here or there go, but he's not been a complete liability at left tackle. He's been fine, but it's just the penalties putting you behind the sticks. And there's another one here, and the drive ends with a punt downed at the 1. We're finally using the highest paid punter in NFL history to his best usage. I mean, it looked like we were going to try and catch it at the 7. They let it go and actually downed it at the 1. So that leaves Rodgers 99 yards to go. They do proceed down the field a little bit. In the first sequence of plays, Jerry has an amazing pass break up on the far sideline. He's matched up against Alan Lazard, and he bullies him in the way that Lazard bullied Okuda. Like, chucks him down in midair. Like, he was never getting down, even if Lazard had caught the ball, which was really good. They then do end up getting a first down here and there, and then Rodgers is sacked about midfield by Derek Barnes. Now, this is potentially the biggest play of the game. I know that we've talked about interceptions in the end zone and that sort of thing, but the Packers can get momentum back with a touchdown here at this point. It's still 0-0 in the game. The Packers score, previous sins are forgiven. And when Barnes gets this sack, it's a it looks like it's a coverage sack because of how long this play takes to develop. But Rodgers spots 2 receivers running completely free down the middle of the field. You've got your 2 safeties aligned in the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the field, and you've got a tight end and a wide receiver streaking down the centre of the field, almost getting towards the post, with like no one within 10 yards of him. And Barnes approaches Rodgers and gets in that passing lane, arms up, preventing Rodgers from passing. Rodgers tries to escape to get that ball down the seam for a completely wide open touchdown. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that this saves the game for the Lions, and it's an absolutely massive sack. It's an example for the first time in a long time if I can say that someone pressures a quarterback and actually finishes a damn play. Just want to say really well done to him for completely saving it. And then that brings up 3rd and 18. The Lions conspire to give 15 yards on that play, making it a 4th and 3. And then you have the challenge play. So Rodgers chucks up to Alan Lazard, called a catch on the field, and MCDC gets the challenge in before Aaron Rodgers can snap the ball. Will Harris makes his best play as a Lion. He has tight coverage on Lazard, gets his arm in the right place, turns his head towards the ball, doesn't commit pass interference, and then when the ball is caught by Lazard, hooks his hand, knocks it just about free. An amazing sequence of events, starting with Barnes and that sack, and then ending with Will Harris and the turnover on downs, boys. Some of the best defense we've seen this year.
We're getting players back healthy. That's the thing. And, you know, this D-line looks a lot better now. Pascal is healthy and playing. It's got a little bit more depth to it, and it's got more danger to it. I mean, you've got to give Pascal some serious consideration here. So Hutch is getting a little less attention. The interior is getting a little less attention. And for that sack for Barnes, it's a gap that comes up in the interior, which he's able to exploit. And this is why we drafted Derek Barnes from Purdue, for the blitz ability, for his ability to hit the holes and make plays against the quarterback. And he's not had that. You know, trying to find gaps when Nick Williams and Michael Brockers are your DTs, like trying to find in center of the Bermuda Triangle. You just can't find it. You know, you're just in this aimless area where there's nothing for you to go on, and you're lost because there's no gaps to be had there. You know, and now the defensive line's getting healthy. Now it's creating those gaps for the linebackers to attack. You're seeing the best of your linebackers because that's why we drafted them. We didn't draft Barnes to be a coverage guy, and he's been used as a coverage guy for so long, so we can't blitz him. We can't blitz him because there's no gaps for him to blitz. So, you know, the healthier this defense gets, you know, the more we're seeing the sum of all the parts working together well as one. You know, I mean, all we need now, it would be great if we had Levi in there just to be able to finish it off so we were at full strength. But, you know, you see him now why we drafted these players, and Barnes needs to be used more for that. He got 50 snaps yesterday, which was great. He got confidence, got pass breakups, batted passes, sacks, you know, and that's because we're using him to his strengths. And he's finally got a bit more confidence. You know, we've got young guys around him making plays as well. They're all working as one big unit to make themselves better. Kerby makes plays, rookie. Barnes makes plays, rookie. Hutch makes plays, rookie. You know, good begets good, and they're all almost challenging one another to be better. And that's what you want. But it's because they're healthy. We've got players in there, and we can play the schemes that we want to. So you hope more. You go see more of this Derek Barnes now. Now that Liam's playing well, now that he's got help in the interior, now we're going to create some gaps, and we're going to exploit them. Let's do it. This defense can be good if it's healthy and we can scheme right. So I was well impressed with them all game here. And Jerry, I mean, don't get me started on Jerry. I'm developing a serious man crush on Jerry. He is what every undrafted free agent should aspire to be, and that he has the biggest chip on his shoulder with the biggest point to prove, and he will not be told no. He will not be told that he's not good enough. He will not be told that he can't be a starter. He will not be told that this injury is going to set him back irreparably. People said, oh, well, we might end up cutting him. Now he's coming back, and we've got people in there. He's been injured. Is he going to be as good as he was before? He's even better. Man with a point to prove. A man who, I mean, that tackle that you said, he scythed, I think it was Aaron Jones, in half. And there was just so much energy and passion put into it. He was blitzing well, blocking well, 4 times targeted, no receptions given up. He's the ultimate pro. And if you could have a team of 53 of him, you would win Super Bowls because of the attitude they have and the way they develop. Wonderful to see him back. Just all these young guys stepping up, wanting to wear the Honolulu blue, wanting to show they're good enough, and they did.
Ryan?
Not much more to say. Like you say, I did notice as well, like I say, on the back end, there must have been a miscommunication, something like I say, because the safeties had disappeared on that Barnes sack. So it was a great heads-up play by him, like I say, to first get the hands up to make him have to like almost pump fake and reset because he'd picked a target out and he was going to air it downfield for a glaring touchdown. But Barnes buys himself more time, like I say, getting hands up, then readjusts, hunts down and finishes. That was great. Will Harris is really taking the chance because our man is basically AWOL right now, like you say, which for me is fine. Like you say, Will Harris, Jerry getting their chances. Will just banks on the fact that if I leave my arm in there, if they come down to the ground, I can force the ball out. And he does. He leaves the arm in there, they go down to the ground, and it moves. He doesn't control it because he's not able to, because he's got good coverage on him. And Dan immediately throws the challenge flag. His best challenge probably is a Lions head coach. There was no shadow of doubt it had to be thrown, and he saw it there. And yeah, Jerry, a few pass breakups, coverage really good. Like I say, I'm pretty sure I said like in previous, if you take Lazard away, they weren't using Tonyan, which to me was probably the biggest surprise of the whole game. Robert Tonyan was an absolute non-factor, and he should have been our kryptonite. But yeah, we took a Lazard away best we could, and then they're working with scraps. And that was another drive for them that completely fizzled out. And more situational football. Third downs on this game, we weren't great. But on fourth down, we were really good. So that's what counts. They're the money downs. When it counts, the defense stood up and it showed its teeth.
I think maybe a semi sort of hot take here, maybe not. If Jerry Jacobs has one more good game than Amani's played his final down in Detroit, I reckon they're ready to cut him. The way Jerry came back and made plays after being injured all year, he did more in this game than Amani's done all season in limited snaps. So I think that he played one snap this game, just gone. I think if Jerry carries on, then Amani's done, and I think he's done before the season's gone. I don't even think they see the season out. It's in a contract year. We ain't going to keep him. Get rid now. Give your young guys the chance. You've still got Chase Lucas available. You've still got other options available. Even Will Harris is making plays. And I never thought I'd say that in my life. So, yeah, I think he's done in Detroit.
I don't
We should have traded him.
Yeah, we should have traded him if we could. But if you can get a 6th round pick, then fair play. But I just don't think the offers were there given how he's played this year, to be quite honest. I don't think he'll go. I think that in the back of Dan's head, he's got, okay, but we know what this guy did last year in terms of play on the ball. Like, that is within him. And if he's your cornerback 5, and it's not costing you anything, and you don't get much saving for getting rid, that he's probably a fine cornerback 5. At the end of the day, Mike Hughes played well yesterday too, and he was out of favour until this week. So I don't think Amani's well down there on the roster, but he'll stay for the rest of the year. I've got no doubt in my mind that he will be on this roster until the end of the year, and I've got no doubt in my mind that we'll be letting him go at the end of it too. But, it is what it is. I just find it amazing that Dan actually got the challenge in. I heard in the press conference before we came live on that he got the nod from upstairs to go for it. And he knew in the manner in which the guys had throw the flag that they were definitely going to win it. But anyone watching the live feed, I defy you to tell me that that isn't a catch, because it damn well looks like a catch live. Like, it only comes free for a microsecond, and you know what Rodgers is like in that situation, in terms of taking advantage of 12 men on the field when people are substituting, or taking advantage of any little advantage you can get like that. He's the quickest quarterback in the NFL, one of the smartest quarterbacks in the NFL on that. You know that Rodgers was hurrying up to the line to snap that ball. You heard it on the coverage. And the fact that the guy in the booth told Dan to get it done and Dan got it done is an absolute credit to the team. Like, there's been enough times where there's been the odd bad challenge, but you might think that would give him pause, and it didn't happen. It was really great. So I was very, very happy to see that happen. And then on the very next play, I think it was the very next play, it was definitely in the next series of 3, the Lions do a nice pass to someone on the sideline, and Jair Alexander just loses his mind and chucks the wide receiver out of bounds to the floor, gains the Lions an extra 15 yards. If you wanted to gift momentum over to the Lions, Alexander absolutely did that in that play. So that should have turned everything
He's a
around.
Massive poser, Jair is. Every week he comes out, I'm the best corner in the league. I'm fucking God's gift to everybody. And then every week he seems to cock up. I mean, who's our number 1 star wide receiver? I mean, Amon-Ra. And, I love Amon-Ra to bits, but he's a slot guy. You're not really going to match Jair up on him very often. And what did Alexander do in this game, apart from his one pick, which was more a horrendous throw than anything good he did? He did nothing. He's one of the league's biggest posers, and the fact that the Packers have paid him so much money to keep him there is hilarious. They've paid all these guys some great money to stay there, and then they've just been like, you know what, I really can't be asked. Aaron Rodgers, case in point, his is the best trick of them all. 2 MVP years, get him to chuck his replacement QB under the bus, set their cap back 5 years for him, and then decide, you know what, I'm going to be a mad ass now. It's just, this stuff is beautiful. It's like, Van Gogh couldn't draw a painting to describe this, situation there any better. Pure art. Love it.
Big Aries has just said on Twitch that JMO on the sideline was ready to defend Tom Kennedy. It was hit out of bounds when he was hit late, which is really great to see. So that gifts the Lions an extra 15 yards at the end of that play and puts them in prime position to put points on the board. That puts them at about the 40-yard line of the Packers, maybe midfield or so. And they just decide that they're going to rush it absolutely down their throat, ground and pound the ball to try and make it the last possession of the game. I think they took 4 or 5 minutes off the clock in this drive quite late on, with only quite a short field to work with following that penalty from Jair. They think I run it 6 plays in a row or 7 plays in a row, end up converting first down after first down. Then finally, when it's required, Goff has a really nice third down conversion on another Texas route to DeAndre Swift down at the 1. Looked like he was going to get in, but tackled just before he gets there. And then a really, really nice play call. Quite similar to the Bakhtiari trick play call, where you just have a tight end offensive lineman feeding out to the left-hand side of the formation as everyone else goes right. Play action pass. And Goff almost underthrows Shane Zylstra, actually, but Zylstra just about adjusts and makes the catch in a busted coverage. That's Zylstra's first career touchdown. And then the PAT, Scott Daly, the long snapper, the second week in a row, he absolutely screws up the snap. It skips on the turf on the way to Jack Fox, the holder, who, to his credit, does fantastically well to get the ball upright. Unfortunately, Badgley, the kicker, it's not enough for him. It's not still quite in the right position. He absolutely shanks it. I mean, it goes 20, 25 yards wide left, which is quite fortunate because Jair Alexander, if he gets a touch on the ball, rushing around the formation, then he's blocked the kick. Because it's so badly shanked and because Jair contacts the foot of the kicker, it's running into the kicker. The Lions then decide they're going to affect the 5-yard penalty as a half down and distance, half the distance to the goal, and go for 2. And Williams burrows through for a 2-point conversion. The Lions find themselves 8 points up at the half. Only left 15 seconds on the clock. It was a fantastic drive. It was a really well done touchdown. And then the 2-point conversion was a good play call and it worked perfectly. Fortuitous that the kick kind of was so badly wrong. But the Lions end the half 8-0 up, boys.
Badgley saved a woeful kick with some fantastic acting. Alexander absolutely barely touched him, like you say. But kickers are paid to be divas. You're supposed to maximise and try sell all contact at possible. And like I say, it was based on the two. And I think they said, like I say, Dan Campbell said, anytime you give me a chance to take a 2-point conversion for the 1 yard line, I'm going to take it. So it was never in doubt, like you say, basically like a 1.5 yards. So it was funny how it happened like that. Like you said, the play design, like I say, was lovely, like I say, because it's just that sneak out. Like I say, everything goes to the right. Zylstra just works his way through traffic, and Zylstra has no respect, so no one picks him up. No one's assumed he's going to get the ball, and then he's about in 15 yards of space. Goff floats the pass, and Zylstra, like I say, has got to come back for it a little bit, and then falls into it. Great player. And then everything after that, like I say, you take what they give you. They gave us a roughing instead of going for the kick again. Go for 2. And if we don't get a 2-point conversion, I'm fine with it because the half's ended because of Milton Clock. It was a real you couldn't lose scenario. So it was a great way to end the half. Like someone's actually scored and that we stung them with a 2-point conversion as well. So yeah, it was a terrible half for them, but a fantastic end for us.
Well, let's just call the kicking controversy repayment for the Packers getting as much time as they wanted, because apparently delay of game doesn't exist for them. So, bad luck begets good luck, etc., etc. You get stingy with the clock management, then you get burned on one of those. I must say, I loved how we ran the ball on them in this game. Jamal Williams again, he just impresses me more week after week. He's running hard, he's playing well, but the thing is, we nullified their interior defensive line. Kenny Clark, I love. If there was one Packers player I could have, it would be him. Straight up, every day of the week. He's the best nose tackle in the league by far. He had an awful game, and I mean an awful game. Probably his worst game against us ever. I didn't even hear his name called barely. He was that bad. He's the best nose tackle in the league. Frank Ragnow, Jonah Jackson, and Evan Brown did a hell of a job on him, but where's the help in that interior? When they drafted Devontae Wyatt, they had Jaron Reed in there. I'm thinking with Devontae Wyatt, is he going to give him some help in there? That, ladies and gentlemen, is why when you take a player off a historically good defense from college, make sure you're getting the right one. The Packers took Wyatt and Walker, and they were probably the 2 least useful cogs in that entire Georgia defense. They all played well, but you could tell very clearly it wasn't them. It was Jordan Davis, who was one of the big wreckers on there. They picked the wrong guys. So when you're picking off historically good defenses, make sure you're getting the right guys. The Packers took the wrong ones, and it's just hilarious to me because I don't think Devontae Wyatt barely played, and they've got nothing at defensive tackle outside of Kenny Clark. Nothing. How is he not playing? He's a first-round draft pick. He can't see the field. And, we just destroyed them there, which is so not like us, but they've not got the edge presence that they've had in previous years. Za'Darius Smith, you see what he's doing at Minnesota, what he's done for them. Packers don't have that no more. I love Kingsley and Igbare, but he ain't it against the run, and it showed. The defensive line was poor, and we pummeled it, and I'm really happy. Really, really happy.
Quay Walker, what a dreadful pick. Bust. I'm telling you now, complete bust. He had no right whatsoever going in the first round. He got outplayed by some dude called Kyrie's Barnes. Like I say, that backup came in, and he actually looked pretty good. Quay Walker making absolutely no impact whatsoever. And he's supposed to be the future with the green dot in that defense. Exactly. Nah, I can't see it. He is not that run-stuffing guy in the middle. He ain't built like it. He don't play like it. And I was really impressed with Justin Jackson this game. Justin Jackson had some really nice runs. He found some holes. He picked up a few crucial first downs as well. I actually think that he's going to get a lot of touches between now and the end of the season. Like I say, if Swift ever gets back to 100%, if not, like I say, if they're going to give him limited touches until he is, I'm okay with that. Justin, like I say, Craig, got an injury, but Jamal and Justin, they can get the job done. And we saw that because they put most of that offense on the back for a lot of the game.
Well, I say, when you're picking from an historically good unit, make sure you get the right guys. Easy to get suckered in by stats coming out of college, and gotta do the same with Clemson this year. Don't take the wrong ones, because there will be some busts in that group.
Same will happen this year with that Georgia defense. It's so dominant. How do you know which one's affecting the plays? But we'll talk about that more on the college show. Do look at that college show, by the way, as the draft comes closer. The knowledge they are giving to you is so important. And there's loads of new guys watching the show live here, so just want to give a shout out to all of them joining us. Really appreciate you being here. If you can, throw us a like or a sub or anything like that. You don't know how much it means to content creators. I know that everyone shouts out about that, but it really means a lot. So anything you can do, that'd be great. We're moving it on here from out of the half, going into the second, and it starts off with an amazing pass breakout by Kerby Joseph. I think it's third down at this point, and Lions are showing blitz. I think they're showing 6 or 7 on the line of scrimmage. Rodgers, 2-3-step drop, throwing it long to Samori Toure, who has broken clear. He's beaten the other safety who's back there in kind of single high, but Kirby's bailed out of the blitz, and he's rushing back. Now, he's still 2 yards away from the receiver when he makes a play. It's slightly underthrown by Rodgers, but he gets up there. He's back so fast in the extension and the bat away. Absolutely incredible play by Kerby. Heads up from the line of scrimmage to beat Rodgers to the passing point. And it went a long way. It went about 40 yards in the air, maybe longer. So, incredible play. That might have been his best play, including the interceptions.
I just so badly wanted to get off the floor, look at Aaron Rodgers and flip him the bird. That just would have been perfect. Just like, no, sunshine. You ain't getting this over me. It was a thing of beauty. It's like, what's happened to these secondary players in the last 6 days? They just look confident. They're making plays. They're fearless, almost like a shackle's been released off them, like they were getting held back before. I mean, like you said, that is top-class cover. That is what Kerby was known for in college at Illinois. They've got another corner coming through this year who's going to be exactly the same at the next level, who's going to be great, who does exactly the same as what Kerby does. They teach you how to be a good coverage secondary player in Champaign, and it shows. And yeah, it was just great. And the look on A-Rod's face, he's like, I'm picking on a rookie who's barely played in the NFL here, and he's schooling me. Absolutely schooling me. His intelligence is just...
Moving on, and then we have the next Lions possession. So Goff is sacked on third down by Enagbare. And I saw Ryan's comments about this at the time, so I'm going to come to Ryan. Enagbare does almost take Goff's face mask off, but it's not an aggressive play, and there's really nothing else he can do. I think by the letter of the law that it is roughing the passer, but you think it's a bit soft.
He hits him in the back of the head. You don't even in the face mask. If I remember rightly, Goff is on the way down. He's basically like at height waist. He's going down, and he basically presses him down to the floor. It's a clubbing motion, but it's almost like planting his face into the ground. But I just don't see what he can do. Goff's basically giving himself up. Like you say, there's not a lot he can do. Like I said, I understand by the letter of law, yeah, fine. He's roughing the passer, but if it happened to us, we'd all be furious. Like I said, I just think actually it probably shows the state of the reffing right now and how soft calls are. In an ideal world, that can't be a penalty. He does nothing. You don't hurt him. There's no risk or danger. But the one thing is, like I said, we finally found a team more ill-disciplined than the Lions. Like I said, the Packers were the worst disciplined team I've seen players all season. We weren't great. They were terrible. So you reap what you sow at the end of the day.
I'm with Ryan on this. This is the sort of stuff we've been, complaining about for years, with how softly you have to touch Aaron Rodgers to get a yellow flag on you. And I don't know what more Enagbare can do there. He's made a legitimate attempt to get him, and he's just brushed him on the back of the helmet. I thought that was incredibly harsh at the time. You've seen it. I think there's too much protection given to quarterbacks and special teamers. I mean, we were having an argument on College Pod earlier. I don't know whether you saw Mizzou this weekend.
Yeah.
You know, Mizzou lost the opportunity to win the game against Kentucky because the long snapper overthrows it. You know, he overthrows his punter. It goes all the way back to 2 miles away. Defender comes in and legitimately puts the tackle on the punter as he's trying to kick it, but he's still protected. It's like, come on, man. What's he meant to do? Is the defender meant to just stand there and wave his arms around like a wacky, flailing, inflatable arm flailing tube man or whatever they call them? Is that all he's meant to do? He's got to look stupid. You've got to relax these protection laws. I know I get this looking after these guys, but there's also mollycoddling them as well. There's a very fine line, and they've unfortunately gone over the line to mollycoddling at the minute.
Yeah, it was soft. I do still think it's the right call by a letter of the law, and maybe the law needs to change. But the refs, we criticise them for calling it perhaps a bit soft, but contacts him in the head. And you say he didn't hit him much, but he does almost take the helmet off. Like, he gets underneath the helmet a little bit and almost rips it off.
Oh,
so
rips it off. Oh, come on,
okay,
rips it off.
okay.
These helmets are not on very tight. This is not like he's fully strapped up and, you know, you have to bear hug him to get it off him. You've seen how easy these helmets come off.
Yeah,
it's not. Yeah. You know, that's just like me clipping you around the back of the head. That's what it was.
Yeah, absolutely. But I am saying that the fact that the helmet almost came off made it a really easy call for the referees. I don't know what you want the referees to do when the helmet almost comes off. It's a very obvious call for them. If the helmet stays on in that scenario, I think maybe you get away with it. Do you know what I mean?
Just use your common sense judgment. There are helmets comes off when a guy is contacted head on heavily and it's knocked damn right off, and then there's occasions where, you know, you should be able to use your discretion as long as you can justify your call and show you got the player's best interest at hand. Then that's fine. If they don't call that yesterday and they explain, oh well, look, he got his hand on it, Goff's head is bending down, so it's easier for his helmet to come off when it's contacted. You know, I could understand that as a Lions fan. I'm not going to complain if they overcall that. I think there needs to be some common sense judgment in there somewhere. And also, I look cool and stop telling the YouTube chat otherwise.
If you are listening to the audio pod, do check out the show just for a moment to have a look and see what Ant's wearing. He's convinced he looks cool. I reserve judgment.
You look boring.
Thank you. I'll take it as a compliment. So we'd think that this roughing the passer would be a reprieve. However, the next play, Goff throws that interception. So you've got Amon-Ra St. Brown running a corner route from the right-hand side of the formation, coming over to the left-hand side. He's kind of circling, rounding off his route just a little bit. The play takes some time to develop. Goff doesn't see Alexander just sitting exactly where he's throwing. Goff is trying to time the route for Amon-Ra in the right sort of depth and doesn't look actually where he's throwing it. And Jair's just there. He comes forward to the ball. You can argue, and I saw it said a few times in our Discord chat, that with the length of time that play took to develop, that you might hope that maybe Amon-Ra kind of curls his route a little bit. But I think that's the designed play. So that's not going to happen. So Amon-Ra doesn't come back towards the ball, and Jair makes a good play on the ball. So after getting a reprieve with the roughing the passer, Goff tosses it in a really bad play, and he's not rushed. The play takes a long time to develop. The blocking is good. Then he has to step up a little bit in the pocket with a tiny bit of pressure, but he's barely hurried. It's a really, really bad throw. But then, very, very quickly, Rodgers is intercepted himself by Kerby Joseph. So we're talking, I think, at the Detroit 40, and Rodgers sees Tonyan running a post route, so from the right-hand side of the formation, cuts inside to the left, and you have Kerby on Joseph man-to-man, I think. And he reads Tonyan's route. When he sees Tonyan put his right foot in the turf to make his cut, Kerby starts accelerating in between passer and receptee, and makes a fantastic reception, the likes of which Diggs would be proud of. I've not seen it since Diggs was here, that someone can actually make a play like that. So Goff gets intercepted, but we get them right back, boys.
Elite IQ. This was not on Aaron Rodgers, this interception. It's a pretty good throw at the end of the day. 9 times out of 10, probably 9.9 times out of 10, that's a touchdown any day of the week. But the ability to read that route, and to main importantly, because I saw the breakdown on this, and they're quite right, to have the burst to be able to intercept that, because it ain't in the air long, it's coming in, flat, it's coming in fast, it's in the air barely a second or so, and it's at its receiver. So for him to be able to have the burst to undercut that route without Aaron Rodgers snagging onto the fact that he's looking at it in the first place, it's just elite ball hawking IQ. And what your first thing you look for in a secondary player, can you do that? And you see the play, he's watching Aaron Rodgers. His eyes are right on him. He's still with his man, but you keep seeing him looking at Rodgers. And the second he sees him locks eyes on Tonyan, you can see him almost working out in head the interception route. Speeds up, picks it off. Wonderful, wonderful play. And you know what? You need it. Because, the offense has been the strong point of the team this year for the most part. The defense has needed to make more plays. The defense has needed to make more turnovers because we don't make many. And this, I know you could say it's the defense bailing out the offense of this situation, but I kind of feel like the defense owed this to us to be able to make a play so that when the offense does screw up, they get us right out of it. They give us the ball back. They give us, we're back to square one again. Let's settle down. Let's crack on. Let's get on with this. And, both sides kind of worked in tandem today. Defense showed up when it needed to, and the offense got the points when it needed to. So it's great that we finally might have someone who can make those plays because it is going to make teams think twice about throwing deep on us. That is the value of having a proper ball hawk back there. We've been picked on in the secondary for way too long because they know we've not had playmakers back there to make those plays. We'll think twice now.
2 good interceptions. The first one is a bad throw, but Jair he baits him. He dares him. He literally just sits and he runs the route with him. He runs the route for him on right. He just sits and baits him, dares him to throw it, and then jumps underneath and undercuts it. Goff has to bail or he has to kill. You cannot throw that ball to Amon-Ra. Unless Amon-Ra turns around and runs directly back to you, don't throw it to him. Goff paid the price for challenging Jair and losing. And then, like I said, the second one, the ball's not lofted. There's no air underneath it. It's coming out fast. It's coming out hot. So you've just got to, you've got a break on it. At worst, you get a PBU and you get a hand on it and you tip it away. At best, you pick it off, like saying Kirby understands that at the point where it comes out its fastest velocity, just haul ass. You've mirrored him. You've mirrored the route. You've gone up. You've gone out. You've come underneath it. And then just do your best to break on it. And if he dives, gets a hand on it, and it goes incomplete, it's just like say it's the exact same result. Like I said, it's just hand-eye coordination, and you know when to go or when to sit and wait. So yeah, 2 good plays, both by defensive backs, and yeah, it's right now we're just trading blows, offense by offense, defense by defense, and it's a fascinating game at this point. It's like chess.
It is a fascinating game by this point, and Goff shows no signs of wanting to make it a bit more of a safe game. When we get the interception back, he's then almost intercepted himself by Savage, an awful pass to the sideline on the far side. It's terrible and it's dropped. It's a hard catch for Savage, but you'd like to make
him
that.
In the hands.
Yeah, you'd like to make that more often than not. That's why he's a defensive player and not an offensive player, right? And then Goff almost intercepted down the middle on 3rd down. Now, this one, the refs miss a blatant defensive pass interference. The linebacker on the play completely hooks the receiver on the play. I'm not sure who the receiver was. It might have been Amon-Ra. It might have been Kennedy. I don't quite remember. But he really does grab hold of him and use the hold to propel himself forward to make the play. He then deflects it up in the air because he doesn't make the catch and someone else almost makes the catch. So, almost intercepted. DPI not called, should have been. That would have extended the drive for the Lions. They ended up having to punt it away. But, Goff just putting the ball in harm's way, left, right and centre, which is not exactly great. They end up punting the ball away. Green Bay now coming back. It's 8-0 still at this point. Third down, Will Harris commits a hands to the face penalty, which allows Green Bay to convert for a first, and then a really nice touchdown pass to Alan Lazard over Okudah. Lazard beats Okudah for pace and physicality. Aaron Rodgers puts the ball only where Lazard can get it. It's the one really good play that you can say Aaron Rodgers made on the day. That makes it 8-6. It's late on in the third, so the Packers decide to go for 2. Actually a mistake, I think, at this point. I think they should be going for the PAT. I still think it's too early to be going for the 2. And actually, the fact that they then missed the 2-point conversion meant that when the Lions went down and scored subsequently, it made it a 2-possession game. If they kick the PAT, it only makes it a 1-score game. So you only take the 2-point conversion if you're in desperation mode, and that tells you a lot about where the Packers are in this game at this point. So they go for the 2-point try, and Okudah, having just given up the touchdown, makes an absolutely cracking pass breakup to save the 2 points. Now, whether I can't remember whether it was Tonyan or Lazard on the 2-point try, but I'm not sure whether he gets in regardless, but Okudah gets there first, runs the route, and then undercuts it, much like Jair earlier on in terms of the baiting him to go for it. He reads the play and just makes a play on it fantastically. So you go in at this point, 8-6, and the Lions lead. Only 14 points in the game, but like Ryan said, chess match, gritty, and the one good Rodgers pass in the entire game, boys.
It's a good throw. Yeah, Lazard works Jeff all day. Now he gets redemption. Like I say, it is Lazard on the pass. And like I say, if he catches it, he does not get that 2-point conversion whatsoever. He will be tackled there and it'll be ended. Now I'm pretty sure Lazard took his helmet off in the back of the end zone after the touchdown. He was off the field. But like a blatant missed penalty, which would have ruined any extra point or 2%. He takes it off and basically throws the helmet in the crowd. And we've seen a penalty for that literally a few weeks ago. So they obviously weren't paying attention. But yeah, Jeff comes right back and he makes the bigger play. Giving up the touchdown, fine, but he brushes it off, like I say, and he comes up big on the 2-point conversion. And that 2-point conversion, I agree, that wrecks their game plan. That really is a difference maker in the game because that changes how they have to do everything going forward because they've lost a possession, basically. They need an extra possession now.
I would just say that, in Kingsman, they say, manners maketh the man. Well, we found the opposite here. Ego breaketh the man. I think the 2-point conversion from Green Bay is all ego. They've seen us do it. They've put us 8 points. There's no need for them to go for a 2-point conversion at this point of the game. And they do. There's no need for it, but they've seen us do it. And I think they're thinking, right, well, we'll get back in this one now. Let's really put the hammer down. Let's go in and put 2 points on, and they fail. I think that's entirely ego. And I think it's really getting in the way of this Green Bay team now. These two think they're the dog's bollocks, and they're not. I think it's all getting unraveled. And that's a big psychological boost for the Lions to be 1 point ahead instead of level. It may not seem much, but it's a big psychological boost to be ahead in a game because they've got to score again. And they've not looked like they're going to score well. So, I think it was all ego, and I'm quite glad, really, because they're not good enough. They're not good enough to put those 2 points down on us, and it gives us the impetus we need to go forward and win the game. So, yeah, Green Bay's play calling was shocking all day. Just take the point, be a point behind, and just crack on. You've done a good drive, get the points, and then just start again. Don't try and get fancy with yourselves. And they did, but I'm not complaining.
Yeah, and so after this, the Lions actually do react to the fact that Goff is putting the ball in harm's way, which is really good to see. It took them a while, but they decide to take the ball out of Goff's hands. The Lions go at some point in the next drive on 6 straight runs. I think it's the second time in the game that they decide to just run the ball down the Packers' throat. Eventually, they face a third down and medium, decide to go for the pass, and because they've been running for so long, it takes the Packers a bit by surprise. And Amon-Ra St. Brown makes a 25-yard catch to get down to the Green Bay 16. They eventually moved down to 3rd down and goal at the 3, and the Lions' patience and running down on the clock is rewarded with a touchdown to the rookie tight end James Mitchell. He has a really quite nice route, actually, where he kind of goes towards the posts as a kind of little mini seam route, I guess, and then realizes that the play's still developing, so he kind of hitches a bit to the right, finds a little bit of a hole in the zone, and Goff zips it in there. Nice catch, because it's short field. Lots of velocity on the pass from Goff, and our rookie tight end makes the touchdown catch. PAT is good. 15-6, 9-point game, and as I was saying before, now a 2-possession game. So, TJ who at this point?
Good drive, yeah. Like you say, that was a drive where Justin had a few good runs, extended the drive. And it was another one of those drives, like you said, where we milked so much clock. To not come away with points in that drive would have been absolutely criminal. And I think I'd have cried if we'd not scored anything on there. We went back to the bread and butter because we were running the ball well. And then, like the final play, like you say, he realizes that the play is kind of like washing out to the right. So he scrapes across the back of the end zone, finds 3, and then Goff puts a bullet in. He basically says, I'm going to put this hot ball in, Mitchell, and you've got to catch it. It's coming at you fast. Just make sure you hang on to it. And that felt like the knockout blow. I felt like at that point we'd done enough to win now and then. It was just going to be now chewing up clock, just manage the clock, get over the line. But yeah, that drive really knocked all the stuffing out of Green Bay because that made their 2-point conversion failure even bigger, even worse for them, that we went all the way down the field and just chewed up yardage and clock.
I was really happy for Mitchell. You know, long road back from injury for him. Started off a little slow, not really got the reps, but obviously TJ's been in now. There is an opportunity for him to stand up and be a part of this team. And he took it. And if you can catch passes from Braxton Burmeister for a living, you can catch passes from anybody. His catch potential is never in doubt. He made some great catches in college. He was a great receiving threat there. Just needs to get the blocking up to scratch, and he will do fine in this league. But no, it's absolutely great to see. I kind of feel a little justified now being able to be so high on him when we first drafted him. But it's going to take time. He will replace TJ right away, but, you know, give him time. Let him settle into this team. You will see him get better week by week. Like all the others, you will see the snap counts go up. You'll see the usage go up. And hopefully we'll have a really solid player out of him come the end. But I never had any doubts that he would be. There was always just going to take time with the injury.
So at this point, just kind of at the start of the 4th quarter, really, or kind of 10 minutes to go at this point, something like that. 9-point game, 2-possession game. Packers now need to move quickly. They're progressing down the field, and on a coverage play, Okudah and Kerby have a coming together. Okudah hits Kerby hard to the head and neck area. It doesn't look the best. It doesn't look absolutely terrible, but it is not good. Knocks Kerby out of the game. He has to go for a concussion exam. We now know with the new rules that means that you're just done for the day, regardless of whether they think you might have a concussion or not. The fact that you have to go for a test means you're done. Actually means that Kerby ends up with some great figures that he can't ruin. 90.1 PFF grade he ends up with, so that was really, really good for him, but a shame that he has to now go through this protocol this week. But on the drive following that play, OPI is called on Green Bay twice. They run the same play where they have a receiver on the left-hand side of the formation going up very quickly. They've got 2 receivers on the left-hand side. One progresses to engage and block the defender, and then the other receives it behind him and rushes on the outside of him. Now, the receiver progresses too quickly and engages the block before the ball is caught and without trying to fake running a route. Like, you're meant to fake running an actual route, and it's very clear that the receiver just goes and grabs someone by a shoulder pads. So the technique by this, frankly, rookie wide receiver core from Packers is glaringly obvious. They're running an offense that they don't have the experience to run. Call for OPI twice. That really puts them behind the sticks. You then have Rodgers on 3rd and 17, faking out Barnes and Anzalone for a massive 20-yard scramble. And this is one of the plays that made me angriest in the game, because with the game on the line, 3rd and 17, if they're forced to punt the ball away there, that's ball game. Like, they're not coming back from this. And on 3rd and 17, you can't let Rodgers go for 20. You can't. And in the play, if you have a look from
Rodgers... We all
Rodgers...
saw Hutch, didn't we?
Sorry?
We all saw that play where Hutch... That's the play where Hutch basically gets a prostate exam and held from the front, doesn't he? He's getting blocked. I think he's getting held by 3 people in that play. I was furious.
But it didn't make me... Just to finish this thought, it didn't make me angry what happened to Hutch. Rodgers is escaping. He's progressing down the middle. The pump fake and whatever. I don't care about that. Anzalone has blocked out the centre right area of where Rodgers can run to. Barnes progressing the players coming from the centre left. If they both progress straight, you're forcing Rodgers to slide. Like, Rodgers has nowhere to escape to. But Rodgers is drifting slightly to the right towards Anzalone. And Barnes follows him. He takes up a position very similar to Anzalone. So now you have 2 defenders in the same place instead of boxing Rodgers in. Now Rodgers can end up faking you out with a sidestep, and that's how he gets his 20 yards. For Barnes, it made me question his football IQ just a little bit, because he doesn't have to do anything flashy. He needs to know where his guy is to box in the play. Barnes had a great game generally. He made some massive plays for us on defense. But this could have won the game for us. And he totally gave up that play, and it was entirely on him.
No. Well, I mean, Barnes had a good game. He had 1 bad snap. What does Alex Anzalone do in this team? You know, Anzalone should be ashamed. He's got the standing start, don't forget. He could, Barnes is pile driving off in the other direction. Anzalone gets flat-footed. He should not be making that mistake.
I have no idea. So, in this, against a quarterback like that, you just need to box them in. You don't need to overcommit. Anzalone has the right-hand side of where he can run to. Barnes just needs to take the left. Anzalone,
He stands there like he's got concrete boots.
But he shouldn't need to move. I completely disagree with you here. This is Barnes' fault. And Anzalone had a good game.
Barnes made a bad play. I'm not going to lie. But Anzalone is a leader. I expect him to know better. He just stands there and falls over. And it's just like, for God's sake, man, you're an embarrassment.
Embarrassment is way too far. Anzalone had a good game, and he's one of the few veterans on this team who has stood up time and time again. He is outperforming his talent level, because Anzalone is not that good, and he's actually hanging with the rest of this team and the rest of the rookies who are showing the other veterans up. So I'm not having this slander against Anzalone. You're going too far.
Well, unfortunately, you're not a dictator, so I can have my opinions on this pod.
I managed to get the name of the pod.
Unless you're going to mute me. So.
I am Palpatine.
You have, and I'm Mace Windu coming to arrest you for dictatorial powers. No, maybe embarrassment is a strong word, but still, the pair of them are to blame for that one, and I would expect one of them to make the check. Aaron Rodgers should not be juking anybody. He runs like, a freight tanker in treacle. He moves like one as well. I would expect you to make that tackle regardless of who you are. So, the pair of them should be ashamed of that. But I'm going to pass Barnes because he had a great game otherwise than that. But Anzalone ain't making the big plays to forgive stupid mistakes like that. In my opinion, boss.
Ryan, can you break us up?
Both linebackers, terrible. It was a totally busted play. Like you said, Barnes is the young athletic one, and I like to think that he can have made it better. Both of them. Aaron Rodgers, one of the least mobile quarterbacks. Literally, he looked like a homeless man that had just seen someone throw an empty fish and chips wrapper in a bin, and he sidesteps them both. And the play, literally, I wanted to scream. If we'd have lost that game, that would have been right now. I'd be coming back to that play, and I'd be throwing some serious fucking shade at the team, because we had. Like I said, that was the game. We could have ended the game there and then.
Yeah.
Like I said, if he had to slide, just say don't hit him, just keep him there. But yeah, it was annoying. Like I said, his protection totally brought down. Like I said, we actually we brought tons of pressure on that play, but no one gets to him, escapes, and then green grass of home. and he manages to just squeak it out. So yeah, it's a learning lesson for both. We need Lou Light. We just need a new linebacker.
We do need a new linebacker. I'm not going to argue about that at all. We then do have a play for the Packers, so they get a first down there. We then have Jerry Jacobs called for defensive pass interference. It was a hold because the hold started before the pass actually went in the air, but then he continues to tug him all the way through the play. It is DPI. It's a bit soft, but it's pretty much all the way down on the route. At that point, it's 2nd and 20, so it's a really painful penalty to give up. But they rebound, saving 3rd and 3, and they have a short field goal from Crosby to make it 15-9. At this point, there's 6.5 minutes to go in the game. They have a normal kickoff. I thought they might try an onside kick at this point, but they end up not doing that, thinking that their defense can hold. They have another penalty setting them back by 10, but another Texas route from Swift. It seems to be the only thing he does on offense, and it doesn't seem like any defense can bloomin' hang with it. But another Texas route by Swift on 2nd and 20. Nice catch, only gains about 7 or 8 yards. But he's hit with ferocity as he's catching the ball. It's a clear defenseless player hit, and so it is a unnecessary roughness call. That gives the Lions a first down from 2nd and 20, so that's really, really fortunate for the Lions, but hell, I'll take it every day of the week, especially when we're trying to kill clock. And then in the rest of this drive, they take it very slow, very methodically, getting some first downs, some inventive play calling. On 3rd down and 1, they actually go to a passing play to James Mitchell, comes across from the right-hand side of the formation in motion, gets a running start. Nice completion by Goff. He ends up going out of bounds, but his momentum was taken in there. It was better that we converted than not doing that. But after that, we end up being 3rd and 1, and the Packers in narrow alignment, showing blitz, do blitz, and Jamal Williams up the middle gets stuffed for a loss of 2, forcing us back into 4th and 3 on the Green Bay 43. There is 2 minutes and 6 seconds left on the clock. At this point, they have all 3 timeouts left for Green Bay, so even converting here doesn't necessarily win the game. It does leave Rodgers not much time, but converting here doesn't win the game. Lions decide to go for it on 4th and 3 with a really questionable play call, and you can see the Packers are coming pre-snap. Like, the blitz is not disguised. They're going twice for this sort of blitz, and Goff has nowhere to go to. Good coverage man-to-man by the Packers, and Goff just not throws it away, but there's no real chance of converting that play. So turnover on downs from the Green Bay 43 with 2 minutes left and all 3 timeouts in a 6-point game. The Lions force 2 fumbles on the final possession. The first forces a 4th and 2 because the ball is touched out of bounds by the Lions. Now, there's no chance of recovering it here, but by doing that, it forces a 4th down rather than being recovered by A.J. Dillon over the line to gain. On the 4th and 2 play, the Lions get pressure. Rodgers throws a desperate back foot throw, but manages to get to a wide open Samori Toure. Okudah, beaten on that play by Toure, forces a fumble as Toure is going to ground. The ball is battered around towards the sideline, and then Okudah recovers it as he is going out of bounds. Whether it happened the millisecond before, the millisecond after is questionable. On the field, it is called recovered out of bounds, and therefore a Green Bay ball at about the 17-yard line of the Lions. And then we have the final set of 4. Amazing play by Jerry, using the sideline to force Lazard out of bounds. No chance of catching the ball anyway, so no DPI, but he was very physical. I'm amazed it wasn't called, actually. Really, really great pass breakup by CJ Moore, coming in relief for Kerby Joseph. He gets his hands in there to deny Amari Rodgers on the goal line. That would have been the walk-off touchdown for Green Bay. Fantastic play by the career special teamer. And then on 4th and 10, Rodgers lofts it off the back foot to clean air. No one in the area. I have no idea who he thought he was throwing to there, but that absolutely vacant.
Apparently.
And so the Lions get the win. Boys, maybe just a quick thought on that fumble and whether you thought it was recovered in bounds. There's lots of chat from Lions Twitter, Discord, what have you, that the officials didn't go and check whether it was recovered in bounds. I clearly think it was recovered out of bounds. I think that it's one of those, like, where you have a juggling catch on the sideline and they just get possession just out of bounds. He didn't have any part of him in bounds when he actually had full control of the ball, I thought. But lots of people in there disagree with me. What did you make of it?
You don't get it though yet, do you, Matt? If that's the Packers, then it's recovered in bound. If that's the Lions, it's recovered out of bounds. Them's the rules.
I thought the officials actually got both spot on. I see when he's like the first one, we're very fortunate, like you say, because it literally just brushes his hand as going out of bounds and it can't be recovered. If he doesn't touch him and that's recovered and he can forward that ball, that drive is very different. So we get fortunate, but they review it multiple times and they see that glance out of bounds, which is very fortunate for. They did clearly look at a few times. The second one, when I watched it a few times, I see, like, say, he dives over Elliott's helmet. The ball kind of scoops up. It's kind of like in his forearm as he's going out, but he never truly grips it. I did look and I think he's not got possession. He's not really got it in time. And by the time he does, he's basically rolled over onto his shoulders. So for me, probably both the right calls. Ultimately, one of those two decisions could very well have decided the fate of the game. If one of those two decisions doesn't go our way, we probably lose. So I'm fortunate we did err on the side of caution. But yeah, like we did well to force fumbles because, like say, Rodgers did get passes off. The CJ Moore pass up, break up in relief, a game saver, and then Sammy Watkins runs in when he's supposed to run a corner. Like if Sammy Watkins runs the corner there like it's supposed to be, they probably win. But he doesn't even look up. He doesn't even look back. He doesn't know where the ball's going. Rodgers literally looks like he wants to stab him. And that looks like a Watkins fuck up. Because the ball was going where it needs to be. In that decision there, you could only put the ball where the receiver can get it. And that just means you just loft it into the corner. You just dunk it up. It's just a layup. And Sammy Watkins goes the totally wrong way. But yeah, throughout the game, I'd actually say the officials were pretty good. And I don't usually say that. We got some good calls. We got some fortunate calls. We got some breaks. I'd say we got rubber green for the majority. And to just get over the line was a huge sigh of relief because most of that fourth quarter was pretty unbearable to watch.
Right, that's our ball game. So the Lions win by 6, 15-9. I've got some other notes and some talking points to go through. I know it's been a long pod, but I just want to get through this just to milk the fact that we've won this game because it doesn't happen often. In fact, someone highlighted the fact that we have a winning record against the Packers in the last 8 or 9, which is lovely to hear. But the first to note is the delays of game that were not called. Now, there's a lot of talk from the Detroit Lions podcast and others that perhaps Fox's clock was not synced up properly to the stadium clock. We've got the Pride of Detroit guys saying that they were there live and that when they started taking notice of this, they saw 3 on the in-stadium clock that weren't called, and that was only the ones that they saw once they started taking notice of it. So it was definitely happening live, and it wasn't just misalignment. Someone has taken stills of it from the TV and seen 8 of these. Now, whether it's 3, whether it's 8, or somewhere in between, the officials are fucking this up royally, and I am sick to death about the Lions losing games because the officials cannot call delay of game properly. I'm sorry, but when the Lions fans get loud, they deserve to have that rewarded. You go to the big house and then celebrate the false starts, as does every other college team in the league, with a bloomin' running tally of how many false starts or delay of games they can force by being too loud. The Lions fans were amazing last night, and they were not rewarded by the referees who dropped the ball consistently.
I'm pretty sure Aaron Rodgers asked for a clock to be reset as well and got it when it was running. There was one incident I really remember.
That was weird, yeah.
It was 19 seconds left on the clock, and then the play clock vanished. Rodgers asked them for it back, and then it came back with like 25 seconds on it. There was no delay. There was no whistles, nothing like that. He just asked for the clock to be reset, and it was. I mean, there was that as well. That was really weird, but It shouldn't have happened. So I think that was on a play towards the end of the game when they were getting desperate. They got extra time for it. I swear it was on the last drive that they got that. And yeah, it was completely wrong. I don't know. The refs were meh. They were all right, but they weren't as bad as last week's ones. But yeah, the delay of games, it's pissing me off. Happened with the Ravens last year, and now we kind of show some legitimacy to it. So and we can't use the excuse that the play clock on the TV's wrong because there's people in the stadium who've seen it as well. Refs need to be punished for this. They need to be punished for bad performance and stuff like that. Get games stripped from them. Get lesser profile games. Get something.
Yeah, the other thing that I just want to highlight is a couple of stats in the other notes. Kerby becomes the first player in Rodgers' history to pick him off twice in a single game, and it's only the third time in his career that Rodgers has had 3 interceptions in a game. The first one was in his rookie season. The second one was his first game back from a collarbone injury. I remember that collarbone break. That was sweet as hell. So his first game back from they threw 3 interceptions. It's the first time that Rodgers just doesn't have any excuse whatsoever. The only answer can be that Rodgers sucks and we're actually better defensively than we thought we were going to be. How sweet it is to see Rodgers become the master of his own failure.
See, a lot of people have said this. It's, Green Bay played bad and, we won by default because they were bad. But I'd argue against that.
I
think that's a complete and utter disservice to our rookies, that is. That's just basically saying, Kerby got those 2 picks because Aaron Rodgers couldn't be asked to throw the ball properly. Barnes got his sack because they couldn't be asked to block right. I'm going to disagree and say we played harder than them. Their players were falling injured all game. We were playing hard. They didn't want it back. Why did Bakhtiari come back for one random drive at the end of the fourth when he'd been sat out 2 quarters? Aaron Jones, fine, no injury to him. I think they didn't like the physicality we were playing with. We bulldozed their defensive line when running the ball. We got after them aggressively in the pass rush and, the secondary blitzes and that. We played well. I know people will say the offense was bad, but, a lot of offenses don't play well. A lot of offenses didn't play well this weekend. Look at the Colts, 3 points against the Patriots. I know we didn't put up any against them, but the offense converted when it needed to. They ran the ball well. They got the points when they needed to. They came up clutch when they needed to. Defense made plays, stopped Green Bay from making progress. And I think it's a complete and utter disservice to those players on our team saying that Green Bay were bad and threw it away. I think Green Bay could still be playing now and they still wouldn't be able to beat us because their offense was crap. And our defense forced them into mistakes. Like I say, that first pick got them doubting their ability to go down in the red zone and put one down on us. And it's one great throw to Lazard in one game. That's the only thing that undoes us. The rest of us, we stuck firmly to. AJ Dillon couldn't run over us. Aaron Jones couldn't run over us. We were disciplined. I just think it's absolute balderdash that people say that they were bad. We played well, and our players deserve that recognition. They don't deserve the insult of being told that they only did well because the other team couldn't be arsed. Screw that. The Packers are bad. We played better. We deserve that win. And the Packers deserve that loss and all the insult that comes with it. And I will swim in their tears for the rest of this week. Cry all you want, Green Bay. You lost to a better team. We have your number now.
Outcoached as well.
Yeah. Dan Campbell.
Campbell going for that 2-point conversion when he saw that penalty. He didn't even have to think twice about it. He knew straight away that if we were going to win this game, we had to score points and we had to apply pressure. But when they went for 2-point conversion, it was out of desperation and it was a bad play call.
Exactly. And, I know people talked about the one in the middle of the pitch towards the end when we turned it over on downs on their 43. Oh, why don't you punt, etc. Well, how many times have we seen this defense give up drives at the end of games where they can't get right in coverage, where they give up soft plays, where they let teams... They've got all 3 timeouts in 2 minutes. Tom Brady needed 25 seconds and no timeouts to drive the length of the field against the Rams, really, to win them the game for them. the best way of winning that game at that point in time is to convert on 4th down, not punt it. And I applaud Dan Campbell's aggression to go for that. Now, like I say, there has to come a time when he's a lot smarter with how often he does it and in which situation he does it. But I think at that time it was justified. And there's no one I am more happier for than Dan Campbell. All the crap he gets from people. Aaron Glenn, all the rubbish he gets from people. You saw the raw, genuine emotion in the locker room from this victory. It is hard, and I will die on this hill, to get a culture set like that. You're 1-6. Your second year, your players are expected to be going places, and look how much they are still bought in. They've just lost Aubrey Pleasant. They've just traded away TJ Hawkinson. That team played for one another. They care. They want to win games. It matters. That is what Campbell inspires in this team for any other deficiency he may have as a head coach. But he's still learning. I know it's hard to grasp the concept. People think that after a year and a half, he should have gone from a rookie head coach in Sean Payton and make no mistakes whatsoever. But that's not how it works. You're still learning. You're growing with a young team that's got a lot of growing pains, but it's going in the right places. And you've got to expect the same with your head coach. But, just to see him, how sad he's been these last few weeks, he takes it personally. He cares. More so than that so-and-so came before him. And for him to be able to get this win, I just felt delighted for a lot of them. I hope it's the start of something serious. I really do. This is why we all want this to work. Because we will never have a coach who cares about this team and this fan base as much again in our lifetimes. I believe that. I think he genuinely, utterly cares about this team, about this city, about its fans, and about wanting to be successful for them. So, he may have his flaws, but hopefully we will get them worked out. We will win more games. We're on to the Bears next week. He's got a wonderful opportunity now to show that we are serious in the NFC North. We're not bottom feeders. We won't accept that status anymore. That Chicago team's good, and we've got to go and put in a damn good performance if we want to get anything out of it against them. But if we do, then all of a sudden we're looking at a completely different team. We're looking at someone who's respectable in the NFC North, that's learning how to win games, that youngsters are standing up and saying, I want to play, I want to make plays, I want to win games. I don't want to be bottom feeders. I don't want to tank for a number 1 pick. I don't want to lose anymore. That's the direction this team needs to go. And hopefully this win is the catalyst for it. Hopefully it's like the Vikings one last year, where that belief just comes back. And if this offense can get going next week, and the defense brings its usual intensity that it did this week, Bears are going to struggle to handle us. They really are. So let's hope this is the start of something great going forward. But for Dan Campbell, I'm just completely and utterly delighted for him.
Just a few things to pick up on in the rest of this game. Ant has already talked fantastically about our defense against their offense and how we really came and earned the win. It wasn't the Packers losing it. We very much went and won that game. A few things that I just want to highlight. That the performance was led primarily by rookies and second-year guys, no more so than Jerry Jacobs. I think the whole seatbelt gang thing is led by him. You saw how much that inspires the guys to celebrate in that way. The camaraderie just seems that much greater when he's on the field. In terms of the defense, 19 pressures this game, including a team-leading 5 by Josh Pascal. I mean, that's a fantastic stat for him, coming back and having such an impact on the game in only his 3rd career game at this point. Fantastic stuff. We've obviously got to talk about Goff at some point. There's 5 potential interceptions in this game. Only 1 snap for Amani. We've talked about him before. The Lions O-line didn't give up much this game, maybe helped by Rashawn Gary's injury, but I thought Goff in general had plenty of time to throw. Swift, Ryan already mentioned him. His role massively cut as a rusher, only had 2 carries in this game, but looked effective in the passing game, and maybe he should transition out to be a bit more of a receiving threat as Williams takes over some of the rushing plays, if Swift can't handle that contact right now. And then maybe just to highlight a couple of players, stock up and stock down at the end, but just in general, the pressures, the young guys, and then we'll talk about Goff, boys. Any comments on any of those?
Sorry, I was just replying to something on Twitter.
That's all right.
I think getting a healthy Pascal and a healthy John Kaminsky as well. I think we do genuinely look better now that he's actually. I know he's playing with other mitts, but it's not like he's not effective. So getting him and Pascal back has been pretty important to taking pressure off Hutchinson. So it's good to see the D line with healthier bodies. I might say 19 pressures. That's not a bad return. And on the opposite side, they barely got anything. They got one sack, and that was about it, to be honest. I really don't remember anyone harassing Goff at any point other than that. Few blitzes that get in his face, can force a few throws. But yeah, really didn't give up a lot in pressure, way of pressure.
And the thing is, I think this is why you're witnessing. Brad Holmes has struggled to get a reputation amongst some naysayers in this fan base because they all talk about the injured players and all stuff, bits like that. But now you're seeing the value of the players that he went out and drafted. All this instant gratification stuff where rookies have got to start playing day one and be amazing so that these hardcore fans can be, appeased. Sometimes you just have to wait a little bit. With Josh Pascal, we've had to wait, and it's frustrating. Of course, you want him to play, but you now have a bona fide young threat on the line. We've seen, Harris is benefiting. Harris is doing less snaps now, but he's been a bit more he's been a bit more productive with his lesser snaps. You've got a genuine three-way rotation of dangerous guys in there now, and having Pascal back, who's actually good, what does that mean? It means scrubs like Julian Aquara and Austin Bryant don't see the field as much, which means your defense is better. Jerry Jacobs been back. Jerry cares about being in Detroit. He has a point to prove. He has something to prove in this team. He works 120%. He wants to make plays. What does that mean? No Amani Oruwariye in this team. Amani, with respect to him, looks burnt out from being in Detroit. He looks like he doesn't care no more. He's undisciplined. He's giving up big plays. You don't really want to see him on the field the way he's playing. Well, we don't need to anymore because we've got a young guy in who can make plays and actually cares about being on there. This all translates onto the field. We've got Kaminsky back who's fighting for a place. This attitude inspires players around them to be better. You've got Barnes who's standing up and wanting to play well now. And this is what happens when you start taking these these rotational players out of the lineup, when you start taking underachieving players out of the lineup and putting in players who want to play, that is where you get better. And that is what we're seeing. We're seeing players that don't deserve to be in this team riding the pine, and we're seeing players that do want to be in this team on the field making plays. This is what it is all about. This is all it takes. When JMO comes back, we're going to all of a sudden see why we went up so far to draft. I'm still so hyped to see him. He's going to give this offense a completely different dimension. If JMO's on the field yesterday, we murder, and I mean murder the Packers. It ain't close. And that is what we'll get when he's back. So just be patient. Wait for these guys to return. The investment will be worth it.
100%. Completely agree with you. Just want to move it on to maybe this final point before we talk about stock up, stock down. We need to talk about Jared Goff. First few games of the season, Lions' #1 scoring offense, everything's going swimmingly. Since the bye, he's regressed massively. He operated the offense well in the first drive of the game before turning it over on downs. There was one other good drive where we scored the second touchdown. The rest of the time was mostly the run game, which did the damage, and he was putting the ball in harm's way a lot. Bad decision making, not the receiver's fault as far as I can tell. I know he's not throwing to the first team offense for wide receiver. I know that, Khalif Raymond is wide receiver 5 in a perfect world, maybe wide receiver 6. But regardless, the decision making is still atrociously bad. The balls sometimes are underthrown and wobbling in the air and kind of just dying as the DB comes back towards the ball. Is he putting the nails in his coffin for his Detroit career as it stands? Is there room for him to bounce back and actually win back another year as a Lions quarterback? Because the way it's going right now, I'm starting to feel like I did last year, saying we got to cut him in season. I'm not going to ever call for that in this year now because it's just not worth even thinking about that possibility. But I do think that it is becoming clear that he is not anywhere close to being the future of this team.
I think we overly complicate the Jared Goff issue here. For me, the Jared Goff issue is very, very, very simple. When Brad Holmes came here, the roster was shot, the cap was shot. We gave Jared Goff a 2-year opportunity to come here and be the starter and prove that he could be the long-term face of this franchise, whilst Brad Holmes spent, valuable draft capital building up this team around him. He was always going to get 2 years. I don't get the confusion about this. He was always going to struggle year one with the lack of resources available to him. We've given him resources in the offseason to be able to do better. We've given him a fair chance at this. And I think it's fair to say that he's not really taken it. And I don't think he's going to be the long-term future here. But that was always the gambit with this move. He was going to get 2 years to prove himself. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And it doesn't look like it's going to work. But hey, at least they tried. And I'll tell you what, this team has built nicely in those 2 years we've had him. We've got a lot of foundational pieces in this team now, ready to build towards something better. And yes, we're going to have to go out and get a quarterback now, but you know what? Great. We've got the picks from Stafford to be able to do so. That was always the plan. 2 years worth of firsts gives you backup in case it doesn't work. Doesn't need to be the number 1 overall pick. Lions fans need to get out of this habit of saying it's Young or Stroud or bust. Really isn't. Good quarterbacks coming up in this draft. We can get one. We can reset going forward. But I've no regrets about making the move for him. I think this franchise has treated him with respect and dignity after the Rams treated him like rubbish. We've given him the opportunity to make the spot his own. He's unfortunately not been able to take it. Right, we'll part ways this spring. We'll get a good cap saving from it. We'll have to carry a bit of debt, but Goff's had his chance. We've been fair with him. We're going to move on now and move on to bigger and better things. And in the meanwhile, like I say, this team's young core is building nicely. I think this was always the plan from Brad Holmes. I think it's been executed perfectly. So, yes, it's a lot of money, but I don't care. We've given him an opportunity. He's not taking it. You can't ask for more than that.
To be honest, even if Jared Goff played really well to the remainder of the season, I still don't want him. He's still not in the plan because he's not the long-term guy. Jared Goff now, he's trying to save his career. Jared Goff is trying to make sure that he's one of the best 32 quarterbacks in the league next year. He shouldn't. We're thinking about moving on the cap cut. He needs to be thinking about his next destination as well, because you'd have to be a bit naive to think you're in the plans next year when things, especially when you're looking at like how last few weeks are going. He's got to strongly consider and have it in the back of the mind that they may move on from him. And I agree with Ant that we are primed to move on from him now. Like you say, we've got the capital. We can get the cap cut. I like the guy. I actually think he's been great for the locker room. He seems like a really nice guy. We could have gone out there, made a trade, or brought someone in like a baker, a fucking bit of a douchebag that would actually just leave a sour stink or a bad taste in the mouth. Goff has taken it on the chin really well. He knows he's a bridge quarterback. Like I say, Brad knows him. Josh Reynolds knows him. Like I say, that link up. Obviously, Josh is battling injuries, but that link's not been there either. But you can't just rely on one guy. You can't have a security blanket. Josh Reynolds can't hold Jared Goff's hand because Josh can't stay on the field himself, let alone help Goff. So right now, it's just not working. So at the end of the season, we amicably part ways. We take the cap cut and we find a guy. If it's a project, it won't be Bryce Young because we're not getting the number 1 overall pick. I think I'm pretty much concerned that now we're not getting Bryce Young. So I think Lions fans need to accept that now. And we're not dealing the first round picks together to trade up to 1 because that'd be career suicide for Brad Holmes. So, yep, Jared Goff's on his way out. We know what he is. I'm fine with where he is right now. So, yeah.
And it's not going to kill us if we don't get him. I mean, like I say, you've treated Goff with respect. Look what the Panthers have done with Darnold and Mayfield. They've given up on the pair of them already. Mayfield never got a chance in Carolina. They've already given up on him. That's a shitty organization that treats its players bad. And that's what the Lions have been accused of over the years. They cannot be accused of treating Goff badly. They gave him an opportunity when no one else would. He's not been able to take it. That's on him. But any future players are going to look and say, hey, look, this is a franchise that gives you a legitimate opportunity to prove yourself. And if you don't take it, that's on me because they've given me enough time and I ain't made the plays that I need to extend my deal there. So it shows that the organization's going around things the right way. To have just given up after Goff after 12 months after last year would have been the worst thing we could have done. We didn't. We stuck with the plan. It's not worked as far as the quarterback goes. It ain't going to kill us. We're moving in the right direction. We make some good cap savings next year. We can move on. We can move forward. So, thank you, Goff. Appreciate what you've done for us. And, it's just not worked. So there's no harm in that. There's no foul in that.
Right. Let's choose some players or coaches or whatever you want to choose. Stock up, stock down, 2 on the up, 2 on the down. And then we do have a question. I'm not going to take any more questions, but it is a good question from SW Lion. And then we'll wrap this one. So, guys, can you think of 2 players or coaches or whoever you want up or down from this game?
Up Mitchell. Down Wright. I actually thought this could be the Brock Wright coming out party, and he didn't get too many targets. He did get a penalty. It seems like the tight end room had fun without him, unfortunately. But I think Brock has probably still got a big part to play this season. Up Justin Jackson. Decent workload. Unfortunately, Craig Reynolds, I don't know, is it fair to say down, did leave the game with a rib injury. That's a shame, but down Jack Fox. Now, I feel like we did not we weren't great in flipping the field. I feel like some of the punts weren't great. I feel like they had pretty good starting position for a few of the drives, actually.
I mean, we got a punt down to the 1.
Yeah, that's not because of him.
Goff, right. I think Goff stock's down. I think it has to be kind of after that. There were a lot of questionable decisions in there. I think Jamal Williams' stock continues to go up. I think he's proving very effective in relief of Swift. We were all worried what would happen. He's running hard. He's getting touchdowns. He's making plays. I think his stock should be right up at this moment in time, almost like hot up. Down. I mean, these are minor downs because I'm not really going to critique anyone this week. Decker's pissing me off with the holding calls and his general inconsistency this year. I will reiterate, he is the second highest paid player on this team. I expect him to lead by example, and he's given up more sacks and quarterback hits than last year. He's given up more pressures than last year. The penalties are becoming annoying. I know, that's what did it with Hop for Ryan, the holding penalties. Starting to do it with me for Decker now as well. He needs to clear this aspect of his game up. He is a veteran on this team and needs to lead like it. But, the way we ran the ball, the way we protected Goff, I can't make it too much of a big hit on him. But let's just say he's on notice as far as I'm concerned now. I'm going to be very vividly watching his play. If it don't improve soon, it could become something more serious. But outside of that, I don't really have that many gripes. I thought the entire defense played well. I know Acuna got burned a few times, but he made plays as well. And let's not forget, it's his, he's not been long back from injury. We were due a bad game eventually. Every corner has a bad game every now and then, and it happens. But as long as he rides it next week against, the greatest receiver of all time, Darnell Mooney, apparently according to Bears fans, I don't know, he should be fine. So just minor gripes really this week.
So my stock up, I'm going to go Jerry Jacobs. I think he's firmly putting himself in the frame to be cornerback 2. I don't see how you take him out of the team for the next game. Like, he's just firmly in there right now. And an associated stock down is Amani. Just, we kind of discussed that before, but there we go. Grandizer is kind of, his question is tantamount to what we're talking about here. Stock up, Aaron Glenn. Because, and this is referring to the question which actually I'm going to read out now so that you see the context for this. SW Lion asks, question for you guys. How much of a difference do you think was made with Brian Duker taking over for Aubrey Pleasant, or was that just coincidence? Pleasant goes, Glenn takes a lot more impact on this game in terms of coaching a position group, helps out Duker, and the defense goes and holds Green Bay to 9 points. I don't care how bad this Packers offense is meant to be. Shut down the run game, shut down the pass game. Situational play was absolutely fantastic. And Glenn deserves a lot of credit for being resilient. Now, do I think it makes up for the rest of this season? No, I do not. Does he need to stack good? Does the defense need to stack good games for his stock to really rise? Yes, it does. Does it mean I can still give him credit for rebounding this game? Yes, I can still do that. So he's going to be one of my guys with the stock up this week. Stock down, my last guy. It's really hard to pick because no one really had a bad game. I'm going to go for Tom Kennedy.
Then
I'm going to go for Tom Kennedy. The guy was targeted a fair deal, didn't catch very many balls. The guy who, seemed to just deliver whenever he saw the field has started not doing that, and I do worry for his longevity on the roster if he's not that dependable guy on the field. So it's a very minor one for him because I'm not actually that concerned. Everyone really had a good game, but
he's gone as soon as JMO gets back.
Probably true. Any thoughts on Pleasant going and the defensive rebound? I know it's just this one game, but do you think it had an impact?
The secondary looked noticeably better. They would look like they were playing with a lot more confidence, a lot more freedom, and the players looked like they'd had a weight lifted off their shoulders. So I think it has had an effect. Because the trouble is, we all said about Pleasant maybe being a future defensive coordinator, etc. Trouble sometimes when you have too many chefs in the kitchen, they get in one another's way. If Pleasant been trying too hard to try and prove himself, if Glenn gets fired or goes on for a head coaching job, is he kind of losing sight of the job he's meant to be doing? We heard he was openly dismissing Dan Campbell in terms of how the game plan should go. So, Dan Campbell's got good stock in dismissing guys and seeing noticeably better improve. So I think it did have an effect. As for Aaron Glenn, obviously, like I said, 100% delighted for him in this game. He's taken a lot of tap. I'm glad the defense did what it did. However, I like I say, I will not give him a stock up until we start stacking these games more consistently to show that he's a coordinator who can do it week to week. However, like you say, that doesn't mean that you can't compliment him this week. Of course you can. So, well done, Aaron Glenn. Let's do the same against the Bears now, because this Bears team, it's a lot better than we thought it was going to be, especially that offense. So if we get rinsed by this offense, then it's going to start raising a lot of questions again soon, and it's going to undo all the hard work you've done. So let's have a second good in-division performance. Hopefully carry us on to a second win. Then the praise can really start getting dished out.
All right. Is there anything you guys want to bring up at the end of the show? We've been going a while, and thanks for everyone who's been listening all the way through. But anything you guys want to bring up before we close up here?
Have we said fuck the Packers yet? Should we all do that? Just in case we didn't.
Fuck Green Bay. Yeah. There we go. Right. Now that we definitely have to put the explicit tag on the show, it's time to finish. We've got our next show coming up on Thursday, tentatively at the moment. I might push it to Friday, so keep your eyes and ears out for a possible change there. With any luck, we will have the Bear Down Chicago podcast, our friends over there with Ryan, who's a fantastic guest, and the name of the other guy, Jack. Thank you very much. Ryan and Jack are absolutely fantastic guests. They may be Bears fans, but they know their stuff and they're really nice. So you'll want to check out that show when it airs at some point later on this week. We've just had the college football podcast, and Boise talks about Week 10. What happened in Week 10?
Lots of teams got upset. Alabama lost. Clemson lost. Tennessee lost. It's going to throw up the college football playoff rankings, which are out tomorrow, which never caused any controversy. But we also spent time giving love to the head coaches who are unappreciated in college football today. So that's well worth checking out. You just hear about the Kirby Smarts and that all the time. You don't hear about some of the guys lesser down doing fantastic jobs at other programs. So it was a good show today.
So please go and check that out. It's well worth your time. I mean, the college football season is almost done. We're not far away, and then we'll be well into draft season. So spending time now, checking out what the guys are talking about in season is going to be well worth your time. This is the team of people who predicted 2 of the Lions' day 3 picks. I mean, it's well worth your time. But Please do check us out as well on our socials. Roar the Lions UK on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The Facebook group for worldwide fans is Detroit Lions Fans UK One Pride Worldwide. On ROTLLionsUK.com, you'll find our articles. Ash absolutely knocking it out the park for us there. Go and check them out. It's well worth it. Please do subscribe and rate us 5 stars on your chosen provider. If you can throw us a Twitch Prime subscription as well, you'll get all my love. If you do send us a review, especially on Apple Podcasts, I will read it out on the show. Any constructive criticism, anything like that, we're always looking to improve here. Email address, you can contact us on the website, in fact, on the contact form, or email address is on our YouTube page. Just remains to me to thank Ant and Ryan for a really long day for you guys with the college show and this. You've put in a great shift. So thank you for joining me for this. To all the guys live or on the audio pod, you're amazing. We love you. Lions, beat the Packers. Fuck the Packers. Let's go Lions, One Pride.
FTP.
Fuck Aaron Rodgers.
Recording stopped.
Still live, as always. But I'm just going to pop off for 2 minutes. It's been a long one, so if you guys want to close there, I wouldn't blame you. But
I'll stop and chat with people while you're gone.
Right, I'll be 2 seconds.
I need to take him out.
Cheers, Ryan.
See you later this week, guys. Bye.
See you, Ryan. Take care. Oh, aren't these just the best days, One Pride? We can enjoy Mondays. We can celebrate a victory over the Green Bay mother-loving Packers. Oh, I've had such a fun day. It's just so much sweeter when you win games. The Lions just... I'm going to lie, I thought they were going to mess it up yesterday. I watched the game later than everybody else. People got to saw the experience on Twitter. Me going through the highs and lows. That last drive, I thought we were done for, and we pulled it out the bag. And seriously, I've never run around the house so much before dancing dances. I don't even know how to dance and all this sort of stuff. Singing words I've never heard. It's just what it does for you. It's such a... Oh, Victory Mondays are just the absolute best. And I've had such a fun day. I hope all you guys have as well. Soon going to be down back to earth, though, and we've got the Bears this week, and I'm a little worried about the Bears. I do not 100% know what's going to go on with them, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. Are we legit maybe in this league? Can we at least put in a competitive performance against them? Because it is at Soldier Field. We can never win for shit in Chicago, so going to be interesting to see what goes on in terms of this one. Grandizer, Ant-Man loves to stream. Yeah, I never ever thought I was going to be a streamer ever in my life. It was one of those things I never understood how to do. I never anticipated I was going to do it. It was thanks to lockdown when we all started doing this. I just thought, you know what? Well, come on, I'll give it a try. We only just did audio pods to start with, actually, so I didn't even have to get in front of a camera or anything, and it was just like, I was so nervous. You can go back and listen to, like, episode 1 of this podcast, like, 2 odd years ago or whatever. I sound awful. I sound like I should never do podcasts in my life ever. And it's sort of evolved to this. It's crazy. I never thought I'd podcast in my life, but, oh, I've had so much fun doing this. It's great doing these shows. I love doing it. Never met any of the guys I do this with, but hey, that's what makes it even more part of the fun. We keep on doing this with one another, and we've never even met one another. It's crazy. Oh God, I've done so much today. Do you think we go back to Amani and AJ, Jordy? No, I think Amani's done. I mean that seriously. I think Amani's done now. I think we're at the point now where we need to start replacing players long term. Jerry cares about being here. He's young, he's ambitious, he's got a point to prove. Amani looks like he needs a fresh start somewhere. I don't mean it as an insult to him, but he just looks like he's burned out, he's had enough, and a fresh start might be best for both parties with it. So let's get some young guys in who want to be here, want to be part of the future here. And Jerry epitomizes that. I still think AJ does too, to a part of it. AJ's not on the same level as Jerry, but I certainly see AJ as being a package of our rotation going forward. I would not say no if he hung around as cornerback 5, cornerback 6, does special teams works, brings him in situationally when we need him. He can be good in the backfield. I just hope we don't go back to them as starters, though. Amani's lost his starting privileges now. So, yeah, bit of a weird one. Oh dear, yeah. God, I've been streaming for a while today, 4 hours. Over under on Fields running for 150 yards, lol. Well, I mean, yeah, Aaron Rodgers just ran about 50 on us, so very possibly. The only fun thing, though, is he might throw for less than 150, so that might save us. Justin Fields doesn't throw much yardage, and I mean, what have they got? Claypool and Mooney. I mean, I would like to think we could deal with them, but I've no idea really. Pet Fan Man goes, the outfit really sells this monologue. Yeah, yeah. There is absolute no way you'd have got me in front of a camera back when I started doing this, let alone doing all this. But I think it's fun. I think I had this outfit on for when we did the awards ceremony early in the year, but I thought I'll bring it back for a Victory Monday. You gotta have a laugh doing this. You can't just turn up and be the same old persona every week. I like to mix things up a little bit, so it's all good fun. I appreciate that, Joseph. You know my football. We have to know our football over here, so we have to. We don't grow up with it like you lot do over there, so we have to learn every aspect of it. And there is still a ton of this game I need to learn. Schemes, routes, all that sort of stuff. I'm teaching myself bit by bit, and trying to learn college at the same time is a nightmare. But yeah, we have to know what we're talking about to be taken seriously. So that's why we're putting all this effort to do so. Oh, wait, he's back. Let's stop talking about him.
Well,
hey!
Hello.
No, I'm honest, I've not been talking about it.
But
so.
even though we put in a heck of a shift to learn what we're talking about, people still don't take us seriously. The number of times that we've been called out for not knowing what holding is against Hutchinson on Twitter in the last couple of weeks has been ridiculous. Oh, you're British, so you don't know what you're talking about, is not an argument against whether this is holding or not. I'm sorry. You can't invalidate us with our nationality. Someone said on YouTube during this stream,
oh, I saw that.
yeah, you're British, what are you doing to yourselves following this team? And it's like, yeah, you're probably right. We are absolutely masochists, and this is what we're living for. But hey, screw it. It's going to be.
I tell you what, no other team enjoys their Victory Mondays more than we do. We appreciate the small things in life because of this, and that's an important ingredient in life, is to learn to enjoy the small things, like a Monday victory over the Packers. You know, I've had such fun today. I've walked around with a smile on my face. I've not had to work today. I've been preparing the college pod, listening to some music. I've been happy. I've done my streams in the evening. I've been happy. I feel energetic. Just, oh man, it does so much for you to be able to do this. I don't like being my negatives. I feel like I've been way too negative recently. I don't like it, but you have to be when things aren't good.
Yeah.
I can't just be positive all the time. You've got to critique when you've got to critique. I don't like to critique.
Grandizer put in the chat about Val from Lions on the Prowl. I think so. I want to be loyal to our guys from Bear Down Chicago and give them first refusal, but maybe it might be a good idea to get Val on the review show this time next week, because we don't normally get a guest on for the review show. That might be an interesting twist.
So I'm actually off this Friday, so for the first time in a very long time, will be on Free for All Friday, so I'll get to chat to her then as well. So I can maybe chat to her about it then. I mean, I know it's after hours, but we can always do something a bit later on. Whatever, but I've not been able to get on Free for All Friday for ages, just because their timing's so awkward.
Yeah, so it's
compared to my job.
It's 4 p.m, right? Yeah.
Well, it's 4 p.m. It's just so awkward for us to be able to get. I mean, back when I used to work in the other pub and I only worked evenings or whatever, it was fine. But now I work during the day. It's just impossible. But I will see Val this Friday. I will be on Free for All Friday. I will make an impact on there. I love chatting with Kurt and that lot. So
I think I've only been on one of them because I don't generally take Fridays off for work, because I like taking my vacation in like one burst to go away and do something particular. If I didn't do that, I'd take Fridays off and I'd join that show. But I've only had one Friday off, and I've only been able to join them once in the 2.5 years that we've been doing this. I want to join that show because I love that show, but 4 p.m. on a Friday, that's core work time. I can't get that off.
And we have to be careful because, we do the Monday pods, we do the Thursday pods, I do the Wednesday pods, I go on LNU, I go on Mike's show. It's having time to have a social life as well. There's only so many shows we can do, but we do love giving love to Kurt and that over there. So yeah, you'll see me Friday on there. And to answer your question, Grandizer, yes, I do work when Matt does. If I'm not on the play-by-plays with Matt, I'm working. So, like this Sunday, I didn't finish till 8 o'clock. I got home at 8:30. The game's nearly over. I've not seen the game, so I did my own separate Twitter stream when everyone else already knew what the result was. But I'm off this Sunday, so I'll be doing play-by-play for the Bears, and you bet your ass I will be laying shade on the Bears for 2.5 hours. I'm gonna go hard on the Bears hate this week. Although I do keep it respectful because I love Ryan and Jack so much, but they know me, they know us, they know they like to poke away and take our shots, and that's the best thing about Bears and Vikings fans. They like banter. You try and banter with Packers fans, and they just no sense of humor whatsoever. I thought about going after the UK Packers group today, but everyone's like, nah, they'll block you. They don't know how to have fun, and they don't. So, but Bears fans are always good for a laugh. In fairness, we've had a lot of likes from Bears fans recently on Twitter because of that thing I put up yesterday about, oh God, what was the tweet I made? Was it about Aaron Rodgers and long-term? No, I put up a Twitter throwing shade at the Packers yesterday, and a Bears person caught onto it. Loads of Bears fans have been liking it. So solidarity with the Bears and Vikings against the Packers. We can put our differences aside for that. But yeah, I'll be on this Sunday. It'll be a good laugh.
Grandize was talking about someone for the Giants game. I'm just putting it in the chat here, but we've had a good relationship with the Big Blue UK podcast here, the Giants Pod. So it's all this work that we do during the draft, which gives us good networking with these guys. But
I mean, feel free to tell these people to invite us on their shows. We'll go and do that.
Yeah,
you know, it would be nice. You know what? You know, a lot of the other UK Twitter accounts, we don't get invited to shit on here. We've had to forge our reputation on our own pretty much. You know, a lot of others, they're all chummy with one another and do stuff. We're not. We're like outcasted here. So, but yeah, if you know a content creator who does shows and wants Lions fans on, then just recommend us to them. We take it in turns to go on shows and do things. So, you know, we were with, I mean, Tom and Ryan were with Kurt recently for his article he did on us. You know, we take it in turns for LNU when we can, for other things. So feel free to ask them to invite us on their shows, and we'll go do that as well. We'll do like for like.
Yeah, Grandize are talking about the Packers trying to get Judy. It's fucking hilarious. Like,
it's their office going, oh, rats, our fans are really pissed that we didn't try and get anybody. And Gutekunst is like, well, did we try and get anybody? And they're like, no. And they're like, well, who was available? All these guys. Well, just put a tweet out saying we did try and get them to placate the fans. I mean, I'm still sure they were going to go for one in the draft, and then everyone collectively ganged up on them and nicked them all. I'm still convinced that's the case. I mean, why would you take two high ceiling, low floor prospects from Georgia in the first round? I mean, literally two of them.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't have made two worse picks off that Georgia defense this season, but they did. They'd have been best off two. I mean, Nakobe Dean sat in Philadelphia doing notes. He can't even get in that side. He'd be starting every week for the Packers. You get much more out of him than Key Walker.
I respectfully disagree on him. I don't rate Dean.
I don't. I'm just saying how little I rate Walker.
Sure, but I mean,
I think Walker's been 2 out of 10 for them. I reckon Dean would have been 4 out of 10. I'm not saying it's like a big difference, but still, they could have invested more wisely.
Yeah. Right. I think I'm going to jump off so that I can get this done before midnight, because I'm in my second to last week at work, and I'm trying not to do nothing, although it's hard not to be honest.
Well, the good part is, you know, yeah, we've got break till Thursday now, so
yeah,
all
true.
good.
Yeah. Actually, so I didn't get to watch much of the rest of the NFL, but how sweet is it this week to see the Rams lose again against a terrible Tampa Bay side? Like, I've called the Rams winning 6 games this year, and with every game that happens, I'm more convinced I'm closer to the truth than everyone else.
Sean McVay is a fraud. He is getting propped up by a handful of good players: Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, and Matthew Stafford. He is getting caught. He is getting the amount of times they've tried to throw games away. And other teams, I think it's other teams' ineptitude that stopped them from being like truly bad. I mean, in the playoffs last year, most games they tried to throw it away after taking leads. This is why I always held a negative view of McVay for getting rid of Goff and blaming it all on him. It wasn't all on Goff. McVay, I just don't think is as great as coach as people think he is. I mean, look at the lack of. I mean, we talk about adjustments on the Lions. Look at the lack of adjustments. Look at those last few Rams drives yesterday. What were they? Oh, run down the middle, no good. Oh, what do? You get Cooper Kupp on motion, send him out wide, stuff. The same thing. It literally, I think the second to last play, they sent him out right, and the last drive, they sent him out left. The exact same motion play, and it's just like, my God, man, are you that? For someone who's meant to be an offensive genius, is your playbook that limited? Are you really just trying to run it out against the Bucs, who could not score for toffee, by the way? And you've got 70 yards for them to travel with 40 seconds of no timeouts, and you let them get to your one with 20 seconds left. Multiple attempts to be able to win the game. It was criminal. I mean, they're frauds. The Tennessee Titans are frauds. I don't care. Everyone's blowing smoke up their arse. They are frauds. They are Derrick Henry, and that is it. They got a good pass rush, but outside of that, Titans are the biggest frauds in the NFL, and I'm glad they lost because they didn't deserve to be. I mean, if they had a semi-decent offense, which is not just all Derrick Henry based, they'd have whipped the Chiefs yesterday, but they didn't because it's one-dimensional. And when you're behind the sticks or when Henry's been used 10 times in a row and needs to take a break, you've got nothing else. I mean, A.J. Brown took a shot at him on Twitter like, oh, guess no one's open again. He's right.
Yeah.
They've got nothing. Treylon Burks is on IR. He was meant to be the next guy. They've got nothing else. The Tennessee Titans are the biggest frauds in the NFL. That is my view, and I am sticking to it. And I don't know what the hell the Jets are. I mean, it's amazing. You'll lose your starting running back. You'll lose your starting right tackle, and you beat the Bills.
Yeah.
What?
It's
I was a Salah provider. You know me. I wanted Salah here more than anybody. And it's just like, man, he's getting the business done.
They're a well-drilled side. They
that's
they
what
are
you need to
legit
be.
on defense as well. That really helps.
And that's what you need to be. If you ain't going to be the most talented, you need to be the most disciplined. And that evens the playing field. And that's something I will die by. It's something the Lions have struggled with, being the most disciplined. If you can be disciplined, you can make up for lack of talent. Because discipline can kill even the best of teams. And the Bills, I mean, that's a nasty one for them. I mean, they still look good, but, New York have put a blueprint out there for the entire NFL on how to stop them now. A couple of defeats on the season. These AFC juggernauts, Bills have lost 2, Chiefs have lost 2. Titans, if you call them a juggernaut, but they're not. The frauds lost 3. I don't think there's a standout in the AFC this year. I really don't. The Ravens look bad. I'm not sold on the Ravens either. I think I couldn't tell you who was going to win the AFC now. I couldn't even give you a realistic guess because I think the Bills, the Chiefs, the Ravens can all lose on their day. Whereas last year, I think the Bills and the Chiefs were just stand out much better than everybody else. Much better.
I still think at the end of the day, the Bills and the Chiefs are the standout teams, but they just look a little bit more fragile than last year. But I still think they're the best. But the dark horse is Miami, because when that offense hums, there's no stopping it. They get enough from the running game to complement it. Tua throws the ball so quickly that it doesn't matter how bad the offensive line is. He throws it less than 2 seconds, and Hill's got 5 yards of separation. I mean, it's going to be hard to stop.
Yeah, I mean, it is. But their offense, I don't know if you've seen the chart, their offense is regressing slowly. I mean, it's still really damn good, but it's been progressively getting worse by the week. So, I mean, it's can you stop the speed? If someone can stop the speed, then they're in trouble because they base everything on speed. We couldn't get to Tua because Tua was throwing it in like 1.5 seconds, and his 2 receivers are already halfway down the damn field. It's so hard to defend against when you've got so much speed in your team. 2 of them, even worse when you've just got Hill to deal with. But when Waddle's doing the same, it's a nightmare. But the AFC I cannot call. To be honest, I can't even call the NFC. I can't. This may sound generalized, but nobody outside the Eagles impresses me this year. Like, properly impresses me. I think outside of the Eagles, everyone has that thing where I'm like, I'm not fully sold
The
on you.
Vikings are such frauds, and I was so disappointed.
They're a
that
byproduct of a rubbish division.
the thing is, they are, but at the same time, they're winning games they don't deserve to win, but not in the way that like championship sides do.
They should have lost to us.
It should have lost to us. Washington shouldn't have let that game go yesterday.
No.
Like, they had that in the palm of their hand. But it's not to their credit. It's not like they're making some sort of Brady-esque insane comeback, but it's inevitable. It just feels a bit lucky.
Yeah, I think they're going to suffer for this because obviously draft pick's going to be a lot higher. I think they're gone in the wild card if they meet a decent team and they're away from home.
Yeah, it does really feel like they need the number 1 seed, doesn't it?
They will probably get home advantage winning their division, but I think the first semi-D. But the trouble is, I think there's a lot of frauds in the NFC this year. I think there's a lot. I mean, you could make the argument that Seattle's the best team after Philly, which is crazy. But Seattle have a lot of very talented rookies playing far better than they have any right to this season. The 2 tackles, lights out. Tariq Woolen, lights out. Kenneth Walker, lights out. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But the thing for them is they are a limited team, but they know they're limited and they play to their strengths damn well. And sometimes that makes it better. That makes them better than a talented team who kind of doesn't really know what they are or leans too much on one elite prospect, a la the Bills and Josh Allen. When Josh Allen doesn't play well, the Bills lose. Geno Smith doesn't play well for the Seahawks. They still win because they got Kenneth Walker, rampaging it up all over the place.
Geno Smith is a really high floor quarterback. Like, the offense that he runs, it's quite difficult for him to have a bad game. And then when he does play well, it's not a high ceiling, but it's significantly higher than that high floor. He's
enough to win your games.
Absolutely. He's not going to take the world by storm, but the Seahawks could win playoff games.
Oh, God, yeah. Like I say, I think just overall as a team, they're playing like a team. The Rams are not playing as a team. I feel like the 49ers aren't playing as a team. I always feel like it's the defense bailing out the offense really with them. Everyone in the NFC outside of that, I feel like there's one part of the team bailing the other out, whereas Seattle are playing in lockstep. I mean, the Eagles playing in lockstep, but they're just, let's forget about them. They're just on their own at the minute. They're well out there in front of everybody else. But it's a fascinating season. Some teams inserting themselves in. It is, because I don't know. I can't pick you. I mean, if anyone's still listening to us chat, what's your Super Bowl right now? I think you will get a lot of different answers for this. Most years, I think you'll get a pretty decent. You'll have like at least one team who gets in there. But I mean, if anyone's listening, what is your Super Bowl this year from what you've seen? Because I can't say for the life of me. Because even the Eagles will be in uncharted territory. A lot of young players, not been to the playoffs before, got to get that win under the lights when the pressure is really at a fever pitch, especially as they're the NFC North team, the NFC team to aim at now. Got to see if you can get over that barrier first. So there's a good chance they could get upset by somebody. And I just really don't know out of this lot who I would pick right now. I feel like there's 5 or 6 teams on both sides of the draw that could make it. Whether it be through the look of the draw, look on the day.
I still feel like my call before everything started, before the season started, of Eagles-Bills is still the most likely. But like you said, the AFC is wide open, and there are teams who can emerge still. We're only halfway through the season. And let's face it, the second half matters a lot more than the first. If someone catches fire, they're going to take it.
So the only trouble I have with the Bills, you go out and finally slay the Chiefs. Yes, I know it's in regular season, it doesn't really matter, but you finally put that statement out there that you can beat the Chiefs. And wasn't it on the Chiefs' own patch? Wasn't it at Arrowhead? Was it at Arrowhead?
It was at Arrowhead, and it was the first time Mahomes had been
So
a
you,
home dog in his career.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you go to Arrowhead, you lay a beating down on the Chiefs, you really give yourself, you make the biggest statement possible that you are a legit team to not be messed with. And then you lose to the Jets. I know it doesn't end their season and that, but if you're trying to make a statement and saying you're a good team, you can't follow up a signature win like that with a dud against the Jets. And that's no disrespect to the Jets, but you can't do it. That's the problem I have with the Bills. I still feel like they don't have the dog in them yet to get there. I feel like last year against the Chiefs in the playoffs, should have won it, should have gone to it. They didn't have that little bit extra they needed in the tank to get there. And I still don't see it right now, which is why I can't specifically say they're going to get there.
Yeah. Right. I'm going to draw it to a close here because it's 11:05. A couple of the picks that people had. Grandizer had Rams Ravens before the season started. Oops. Joseph Austin says Eagles Bills, which seems like the most obvious. Grandizer says he can see the Eagles getting stunned by someone like the 49ers or Seahawks.
Yeah.
The 49ers are such a wild card because on their day they look fantastic. He's talking
They've
about
been
the
there
Giants
and done
now.
it.
They have. Big Aries on Twitch says Eagles Bills could be right now, but it could be KC. Yeah, it's all the kind of usual suspects there.
I legit, sorry, I know you're going to go, but I legit think the 49ers could be in there because they've done it. And they are not expected to do anything, and that makes a team dangerous.
Yeah, it does.
Really does.
Right, to everyone who's been listening all this time, we really appreciate you guys. We'll see you on Thursday, Friday time for our Bears preview show, but we'll see you next time. Cheers, guys.
Love you all. Enjoy Victory Monday. And screw the Packers.
Fuck the Packers.